that's gonna be amazing.
Flash is coming up at the top of the staircase. There's an easy kill for Hyper in a second and a third. Dark Zero in full control. A triple for Grixer, and there's the quad. United.
Great teamwork. Sonics take the lead again.
Disrupt the best of the best.
His teammate's gone, and what's this? He's got a Nitro Shout as well. TSM.
Tempo Storm absolutely storms through this matchup. Oxygen takes the series.
Spacestation Gaming are your world champions.
Welcome to day 8 of stage 2 of the Rainbow Six Siege US division. Super excited for the matches today. One team will go to the major, one team will go to relegation. I'm Jackie Jing and I am with Veli and Jesse. And really quickly, we do want to apologize for the little delay there. The Tachanka rework news that pushed us back just a little bit and the EU matches had to play out. But we are ready for the US division matches. Veli is smiling, Jesse is smiling. How y'all feeling? Veli, I'll start with you.
I'm feeling
All
great.
Smiles.
We're gonna find out who's going to the relegation spot and also who's not gonna make it automatically. Well, who's not going to automatically qualify for the NA majors. So first game of the day is gonna be a banger, and I just can't wait for the matches all around.
Jesse, how you feeling, man?
I feel great. Just got done watching some EU, and today we've got arguably the most important match of the season. So I'm really looking forward to today.
Yeah, I think Kick said something like, these teams aren't going to let go of each other. It's going to be absolutely insane, and I don't think there's any other way to say it. So really excited to get into all that, but really quickly, a quick word from our sponsors. Take a listen. Welcome back, and now we are taking a look at the Group A bracket. So much excitement here. Oxygen defeated SSG, and Monday, DZ beat TSM. DZ will play Oxygen on Monday, but today, ladies and gentlemen, SSG versus TSM.
Yes.
We always love seeing these two teams play each other. So the winner of the first match here secures a spot at the major, and that will feel so darn good. A huge relief. The loser will be sent to the qualifier, having to battle to get that final major spot. So if you can win today, I think you're here for it. That's definitely what you want, right? But let's roll into Group A, this matchup here, and we will begin with SSG. Lots to talk about. SSG got a big win against DZ, beating them in stage 2, but they lost to OXG after that. So the last time they faced TSM at the August Major, they lost.
Yeah.
Jesse, do you think that our SI 2020 champs are struggling to get in a groove with this meta? It's kind of been all over the place.
Yeah, I definitely think Space Stations are enjoying this meta less than they were enjoying the meta that was around, more so when they were winning the Invitational, obviously. They're banning Wamai every single map. They really want to make sure that this utility-heavy meta is as minimized as possible for them, and I think that's shown in their win rate as well. It's down from 45% in Stage 1 to 38% on attack, which is not the kind of results you want to be seeing. I think part of that is how much they've slowed down a little bit. Some of their pushes do seem to take just a little bit too long. They sort of stall out and they really don't get things done. So I'm hoping they've addressed that a little bit today.
And Valley, I was looking at the stats and it's crazy, but no member of SSG is on the leaderboards except for Canadian for Plants. But just saying that out loud kind of shakes me. It shocks me. Regardless, though, they always give TSM a tough match. But what do you think that they're going to focus on correcting today?
I'm kind of mad Jesse took my answer. I was going to harp on the fact that Jesse rounded it up. It's actually, I believe, a 37.8% win rate on attack. And we have to look at Kafe against Oxygen, and Kicks called it best. I believe it was the second round, and we saw Fultz in front of Clash. And basically, what I'm getting to is that Oxygen threw Clash up top and slowed down Space Station, and it seems like Space Station just didn't have any counters available, especially with the line on the board to take away from the utility encounters that could help them out. So Space Station Gaming that low on attack, and just to put that into perspective, E United, who's pretty much middle of the pack team, right? That might be going to relegation. They have a 45% win rate on attack, and TSM, it's going to be a 54. So if Space Station Gaming really want to pick it up, they have to get it going on attack, or else they're going to fall against TSM, trust me.
Well, we will see how they do, but let's talk about their opponent, TSM, a little bit. And so we were just talking about stats and SSG like really not being on the leaderboards. TSM, on the other hand, has players all over the leaderboards. Bolo, in fact, is ranked top 5 for multiple categories. Number 1 for overall rating, 2nd for KD, 3rd for entry, and 4th for cost. Jesse, how in the hell is SSG going to shut this man down? That's like my question there.
I mean, it's going to be tough, right? Like, we don't need to hype up anymore how good this guy's been. Bolo's been killing it all season long. There have been only 3 games where he hasn't had a positive KD. That was their game against Dark Zero in Stage 1, their game against Dark Zero at the Major, and their second game against Dark Zero at the Major. The thing that I noticed in common for all 3 of those matches is Dark Zero started to run a couple of shields in all 3 of those games, and it did seem to have an effect on Bolo. Now, is this saying that Bolo absolutely cannot deal with shields? No, it's probably reaching a little bit. Is it fair to boil down Dark Zero strategies and play in those 3 games to just shields? No, but I think it's a good thing to notice across all 3 matches, and it is definitely a trend that we're seeing. So Space Station played a little bit around with Clash last time. I think Canadian was flexed onto that for the first time, and Canadian played Clash a bit in Stage 1. So if they want to flex that out, bring out some shields, I think it'd be a good strategy to try to slow down Bolo a little bit.
Listen to the big brain, folks. That's all I'm going to say. But, Veli, we were talking about those stellar stats.
Yeah.
Despite those, TSM is coming off a tough loss from Dark Zero. So what do you think they worked on so they can bring down SSG today?
I mean, let's be completely honest. You, me, and Jesse, we know all about this. Top teams losing against each other from time to time, right? And taking a loss against Dark Zero, I get it stings, but there's 2 reasons why I believe TSM, they have a great chance. Now, Jesse called out their attack win rate, when TSM's defensive win rate is 70%. I believe it's the best in the league. But also, there's one player I'm going to keep my eye on. I saw some haters in the chat, but they need to start putting some more respect on this name. Merc did fantastic last time he played against Space Station. He actually had, I believe, a 6-3 entry. But the issue was he had a 15% survivability rate. If Merc can happen to stay alive longer than usual, he could put in as much damage as before, plus more this time around. So that's something I really want to watch.
All right, all eyes on Merc. We shall see. But
Yes.
Let's get into the map selection process, gentlemen. Our teams are getting ready, and it looks like we are moving into that process.
Okay.
And here's the information up on your screen.
How you feel,
All right.
Jesse?
I mean, Clubhouse, Villa, sure. Consulate's a solid pick for TSM. They play this map all the time. Only recent loss since there's a Dark Zero. It's never been a great map for Space Station, but they did start with a win in Stage 2 here, so that's an alright map. We got Kafe from Space Station. They've liked this map for a long time. They did recently lose it to Oxygen, but I still think it's a good map for them. TSM, yeah, didn't win this map at all in Stage 1. In Stage 2, they've only gotten 1 win, but it was a 7-1 against Disrupt. And then Theme Park. I'm a little bit surprised this map got through the pool. I thought this pool did favor TSM a little bit, but Theme Park is certainly a map that I think leans towards Space Station. TSM have only ever won this map once in its history, and that was against the Sonics over the summer. For Space Station, they were undefeated on this matchup until they lost to Oxygen 8-7 just recently. So if we get to that 3rd map, I'm thinking Space Station might take it, but you never know what TSM will have bringing that to the table.
Oh,
Yeah.
you never know, right? I don't envy y'all. I don't know who I would pick for this matchup, but we are going to move into predictions. And Veli, I'm going to put you in the hot seat first.
I'm going to say this. We've seen some 2-0s lately with top teams, so if TSM, they want a chance to win, they're going to have to go 2-0 because Space Station bested them on Theme Park, which is going to be the tiebreaker. I believe TSM has what it takes still, especially after rewatching the VOD from last time they played, and especially after seeing how Space Station was against Oxygen. Hopefully TSM found the holes in their strategy, so I'm going to go with Team Solo Mid.
Okay, TSM for Veli. Jesse?
I was going to lean towards TSM, but really looking at this 3rd map, looking at the maps we've got, I'm going to go with
scary.
Space Station.
Yeah.
I assume TSM has something up their sleeves for Theme Park, but I just really like how Space Station play that map. So I'm going to go SSG. I think they're the safer pick here, but this is obviously going to be a close one.
Yeah, theme park is
man,
scary.
we
Jesse's
are
right.
split. Yeah, Veli and Jesse split on this decision. I have no idea how this is all going to go down, but we're about to roll into that matchup. But very quickly, for all of you at home, if you don't already, please make sure you follow us on our social media accounts. We got an Instagram account, we got a Twitter account as well, and also we encourage you to participate in our community poll question. That's always fun. And also tweet at us. Who's going to win this one? I don't know. Our analysts are split. But really quickly, we're going to toss it over to our casters, Kixen and Taro. I wonder who they're leaning towards. All right, take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I actually don't have a dog in this fight, Michael. I don't know about you, but we're not really prediction gurus, you know. And on top of that, this one's going to be messy. We mentioned it on the Monday broadcast that the loser of the DZ matchup, which ended up being TSM, was going to have to play SSG. Obviously not a favorable outcome, but this is going to be a hell of a match. I am sure of it.
Yeah, this certainly will be. And like you, Parker, I don't really have a prediction to make. I think Jesse's right. Statistically on the maps, SSG has a slight edge, but then TSM has always been that upset team. And with the stakes on the line today, I expect both of these teams, as Jackie was mentioning, I was talking about this in the lead or before we actually got started, I expect both these teams to not let go of each other. I think this is going to be a serious rough and tumble match because, you know, it's the difference between making it to the major and then having to work through the qualifier, and that is quite significant. So we'll see both these squads go hard, I'm sure. Real quick, just want to get this out of the way. The community poll question today is, which of these two players will have the higher cost at the end of the day between Thinking Nade and Chala? Now, they are both tied at 79% cost for Stage 2, and that is actually the highest of any player in Stage 2 of the US division. So that's pretty impressive stats from both of them. Who's going to have the higher cost at the end of the day is the question.
Yes, Michael, one team is going to win, but at what cost? Will the players be at? Chala and Thinking Aid, by the way, former teammates. If we can take you back as we are waiting for these teams to get in the lobby, we are just a moment or so away from beginning on Consulate, which is going to be map number 1. It's TSM's choice. We know that TSM is a very proficient team on this map, so you don't need to worry too much if you're a fan of them. There will be trouble in the water if they struggle out the gate against SSG, but you take this SSG team and you send it far enough back on its lineage, and funny enough, they were actually one of the first teams I ever casted way back when they were known as Bittersweet. That's when they were in a community league that still exists, by the way, that is known as CCS, which is where I got my start. Stokes is also an alumni of that league, and there's a variety of people working behind the scenes and in front of the camera on the EUL and APAC broadcasts, the BR6 broadcasts, and now here in NA that all started in CCS. This SSG team was known for a period of time as Ferocity Esports, then they became Bittersweet, then they became Most Wanted. Now they're SSG. Chala was on this roster way back in the day. In fact, Michael, this SSG team, when they were known as Most Wanted, were in the second match ever that you and I casted together, if you recall. I have very fond memories of Chala going nuclear on Skyscraper against Elevate, and then Sky's also going nuclear on Skyscraper on Elevate, and Chala, of course, on that Most Wanted team at the time. Now, obviously, Chala has seen a rebirth on TSM, and both he and Thinking Nade have always fulfilled very interesting roles on the team. Thinking Nade obviously is dedicated mostly with flank watch at this point. Chala does that to a certain extent, but the way that TSM uses the talented players they have on their team, it allows Chala some flexibility to be that secondary hard support if they need somebody on Hibana, unless Merc is covering those duties, or Chala can also work in terms of flex too. So it's a good question, and I don't know, frankly, which of these two will emerge with the higher KOST. That's why I'm not a betting man.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, by the way, cost or KOST is just basically a summary of the percentage of rounds that you as a player influence. It tracks the stats that we have at our disposal, like kills, plants, diffuses, survives, and traded after deaths. And basically, if you did one of those in a round, then great, it contributes to your cost. If not, then you weren't contributing to that round, so it doesn't contribute to your cost. Just to it's like the shortest way to describe how cost works, but yeah, it's the influence that you put into the match, or the amount
I love
of
how
rounds.
it's an acronym and you just didn't say the acronym. You were so close. You were like kills, diffuses, counter diffuses, survives and trades, which is, it's like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, that O stands for objective. Kills, objectives, survives, and trades. And you're like,
I mean,
yeah, with you, the acronym would be like, not quite.
I was listing off all the individual things. I wasn't trying to say the acronym, but yeah, sure. There you go. Kills, objectives, survives, and trades.
Shameful.
It's just the percentage of rounds that you influence, to summarize rather. So it's pretty fun statistic.
It is, and I mean, it works out quite well. Obviously, there have been people who have come up with other formulas, because one of the greatest challenges with this game is quantifying how successful certain teams are outside of killing. Everybody looks at frags as being the be-all and end-all, and that is far from accurate when it comes to Rainbow Six. Your contributions that you make, and I feel like this phrase, Michael, will be on my tombstone. The contributions that you make are not always shown on the scoreboard. I feel like that's going to be slathered across my tombstone at some point, because I say it so damn much. But it's true. Yeah. When you've got somebody who's doing drone work, some of your support players are going to be spending 2.5 minutes on attack on a drone. They're only going to be involved in direct action for about 30 seconds, if that. Some teams, if they're proficient enough and their entry is good enough and your droning is good enough, you're going to be finishing the round, presumably still outside the building. But guess what? You were integral for your team, netting 3 kills, even if that's not going to be reflected on the score sheet. So with that said, I've talked quite enough. I'm sure the people watching would agree with that. Ban phase is done. Thatcher, Nomad, Wamai, and Mira on a Consulate map. And very first on defense is going to be TSM. In fact, Michael, TSM is going to be starting on defense on every single map, with SSG starting on defense in overtime on every single map.
Oh, funny how that works out, but I guess the preference is clear. Now, we'll have the start here with TSM on the bottom floor. With the Thatcher ban, the Kaid is likely to be pretty useful. Malusi also going to be cycled in exchange for a Valkyrie. Surprising the Valkyrie made it through the ban phase, or I guess not terribly so anymore. We've seen Wambai starting to butt his way in there, and there you can see him banned out. With the Valkyrie being switched out for a Malusi, you're going to sacrifice some of your information in exchange for more slowing down. Of course, the ability to burn all of the explosive utility that the attack has on those Malusi gadgets is going to be significant. And we've seen actually, it's funny. I swear I've seen dozens of rounds where there's been an engagement that has won pretty much exclusively because of the existence of a wub-wub. By the
way, wub-wubs, would like everybody to know, as this term will appear many times, a wub-wub is the official Ubisoft sanctioned name for Malusi's gadget. Announced today that we were going to be replacing the names of certain gadgets with onomatopoeias. So in this case, wub-wub.
Wub-wub.
The Thinking Nades X Kairos are the spooms. And Bosco's hammer is, it's a slamming noise. So you can just
thud. Yeah, just
that's, you have to, you can't even say it. Bosco's just going to walk in and there you go. So you know what I'm doing. So
C4 will land onto Bosco. Speaking of achieved, playing inside of admin office, and that's some really good usefulness early on from the Malusi.
So we've seen TSM roam heavily on that admin side of things. DZ did it as well when we saw them last quarrel on Consulate. So keep your eyes peeled for that engagement. Achieved will have Bolo somewhere nearby. Not close enough. They're actually on polar opposites of this top floor. Appears that the Ash of Fultz is on Repel, watching intently to see if Achieved is going to peek, but Achieved will stay inside of admin. He's by the small desk, and now he'll make his way into meeting. Those double reinforcements will confound Fultz as the drone will go on in to try and determine his location. There is a rotate, but if Fultz gets too aggressive towards long desk, well, there's Bolo over on yellow stairs to catch him and to cut him down to size. Bolo's attention is turned elsewhere, though, leaving Achieved to be the one to engage in this fight. I don't know exactly where that Ash charge just went, but flashing onto Achieved as he misses the fight. Fultz getting the better of him on that one, and then just like that, back to a 4v4. Bolo knows that there's somebody inside of that position because of Achieved's calls. He'll get droned out on yellow stairs, and he'll need to now do some heavy lifting, as there's 2 members of SSG. He finds Thinking Nade. That's not going to be good for his cost. Hope you voted for Chala so far. Next up for Bolo is going to be the Ash of Fultz, but he sees somebody on yellow. 5 bullets left. He's going to have to go for a reload. Swings onto the Jackal. Wins the fight against Rampy. He's expecting a play from the Ash, but no, Fultz is going to hit the pause button. Canadian is going to be all on his own now, as inside a bathroom, there's the Ash of Fultz, waiting for somebody to come at him. Bolo is the man of the hour right now, is a tiny portion of HP. He sees the Ash. Flashbang goes over his head, but no, pistol cannot do much. Fultz gets that one, and with it, yellow stairs. That's a minute and a half, Michael, that have now been wasted by Bolo and only Bolo.
I'm going to get this little bit of analysis out of the way early on. If the round is won by TSM, you can bet your bottom dollar a big chunk of it is thanks to Bolo's efforts on yellow stairs. Achieved with the C4 early was great, but Bolo really did delay, and well, he managed to get 2 kills as well. Fultz and Canadian, though, are not out of this just yet. While Fultz is on low HP, he has been landing his shots through this match, and, well, I mean, at the beginning at least. Canadian won't land his, though, as he tries to get the angle through the hole. Nice there onto Geo, who is standing up and exposing himself. It's all on Fultz, who will not even get one. Merc shuts him down, and TSM will take the first round.
Well, you said it yourself. Let's get this analysis out of the way. Bolo instrumental in that round. Achieve didn't just start things off with the very first pick. Loses that fight to Fultz, as you just saw on your screen, but Bolo, unsupported on yellow stairs, puzzlingly wins those 2 engagements. Now, both Thinking Nade and Rampy should have been able to finish that kill, especially Rampy. I could understand Thinking Nade because he wasn't expecting somebody to swing from yellow stairs. SSG had droned him out just moments before. They knew that Bolo was located on those yellow stairs. Thinking Nade did not expect him to swing, because a lot of times you'll shoot the drone and either hold that position or try to head down. We also saw Rampy come up to try and pinch him, but they were just a little bit off time. Not quite my tempo. They were dragging, by the way, not rushing, for people that are curious as to whether or not he was rushing or dragging. And then Rampy ends up losing that engagement, which Rampy really shouldn't have. And that round goes entirely different if Rampy wins it, because then you have all the pressure from that top floor taken out. You can very swiftly move towards the transition that you need down the basement, as it is a garage defense, even though TSM won that site on the top floor.
We often see those rounds, right, where the result is ultimately determined far from the actual bomb site. And
oh, yes.
That was a good example of one, as you mentioned. Here now, we're likely to see a similar effect, or possibly the exact opposite. Archives is the type of bomb site where it's always strongly one or the other. Either the defense wins before the attack can get to the bomb site by their roam, or it's a huge fight between the defense of anchors down below with their C4s and the attack trying to use operators like IQ, for example, where you see Rampy fielding here, to try and counter the pulse in the C4s from below. And it's a very unique bomb site for that, actually. Not many bomb sites are so, I guess, harshly contained, the way you could put it. But this one certainly is. Now, the entry here for SSG is going to start from the front door, work their way over to the mezzanine, and this is going to allow them some control of this middle floor. Bolo is playing at top spiral or top banana, depending on where you hail from, and you do actually have the pulse extended out from the bomb site, trying to give information to his roamers right now by yellow stairs. That could be very beneficial to the roamers as they attempt to actually engage SSG. Look at that. Bolo gets the first kill on a rush up the yellow staircase, and despite Bosco knowing it's about to happen, he still loses the fight.
His charm may be purple, the skins he runs may be purple, but in this map, yellow is Bolo's preferred color. Great shot from Fultz, by the way, onto Bolo. Still keeping in the yellow theme, those yellow stairs happen to be the location of the aggressor from Space Station that punishes Bolo down below as he chose to peek. It was ill-advised, but at the same time, Bolo was able to delay Fultz. He got that opening pick, as you noted, onto Bosco. And the thing is that no sledge on a garage take, no sledge on an Archives Teller's take. You are sacrificing the single largest contributor to soft destruction that is on Space Station's lineup. Sure, the Ash can step in if needed to use those breaching rounds somewhere if required. But in this particular instance, they're likely going to go towards utility. If somebody has breaching rounds, well, maybe they'll be able to do some work. But no, Fultz is going to claim his second kill after Rampy had been punished from the open hatch. That's a bad play from Rampy to not expect somebody to be down inside of Visa lobby. So Rampy will need to be picked back up. SSG have control of this first floor, which is what they want. Now you need to watch on the left-hand side, the 3 members of TSM all equipped with nitro cells. We talk endlessly about how incredibly helpful a pulse is with these explosives in hand, because there's going to be a moment of vulnerability where a diffuser starts to go down. It blows up, it misses. All 3 members of Space Station looking to barrel on in through that doorway. Canadian will attempt the plant. Fultz going for kill number 3, won't get it. Geo, Chala, and Achieved all are on the scoreboard. And Thinking Nade, who will try to pad his stats as best as he can, has 5 seconds. He can't even outduel Achieved. A bad end of the round for SSG there, and so far, TSM's defenses through 2 rounds looking especially formidable.
You could see Pojo Man lording over his players, making sure that they're all focused up and have sufficient fist bumps. The round there was a little bit odd, to be honest. As you mentioned, seeing Merc not expect the Valkyrie inside of Visa lobby was unexpected. However, I'm sure that SSG thought that it was a full clear there. Sorry, not Merc. Merc was the Valkyrie. But yeah, Rampy not expecting him to be in the Visa lobby. SSG losing HP on their IQ there was not that bad, but because the IQ was recovered, I actually thought that might have contributed to the success there for the attack. IQ, as I'm sure most of you know, has that gadget able to spot electronics, and IQ can spot things like the cardiac sensor that the Pulse has. So generally, you bring the IQ to try and suppress the Pulse, prevent him from giving information to the defense. We didn't see a whole lot of that, though, because of the time constriction. We needed to see the attack into the site. They needed to go for the execution, and that's exactly what SSG did. But because they were so limited on time, it ended up being a pretty, well, one-sided ordeal. Explosives coming out, and yeah, some of them from TSM missed, but the guns certainly weren't. When TSM forced the retake of their own bomb site, we didn't catch all of the action, but you could see it represented in the kill feed. TSM quite clearly came on top on their own retake. I like that TSM forced the retake before the plant went down, by the way. Many defensive squads will just let it linger and allow the attack to get that plant, hoping that the C4s will be enough to deny. But TSM thought better of it. And that's a good decision-making in the moment.
You know what I find on certain maps really distracting? When we're in a spectator mode and we're not actively looking at how many Valkyrie cameras are still left, you'll see something go flying through the screen and you'll be like, is that a Valcam? And then you realize that it's just like some map-based debris, like a piece of paper or a bird.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
And you think to yourself, like, what? Coastline. Coastline is a serious offender of that. There are times where it's like, I feel like little things will go flying by on Coastline and be like, oh, what was that? And then you realize, oh, that's just the map.
Border's the same, though we don't see it here anymore. It's got a lot of that little fragments of random debris. Yeah, it can be confusing. Why is it there in the first place? Is it a Valkyrie cam?
We don't know.
Is it a bird? A plane? No one's really sure.
Is that a bug? Is that a plane? Is that Alpha Centauri?
Is that a hole in the CEO wall that SSG opened up with Habana to give greater line of sight into Projector to make Chala's roam upstairs more difficult?
Yeah. By the way, that line I just quoted, is that a bird? Is that a plane? Is that Alpha Centauri? It's a line from a famous comedian, if you know who that was. Congratulations on getting the reference. At me on Twitter if you think you know who it is. Anyway, as I say that, by the way, Canadian taken out, Chala's gone as well. With Canadian gone, Diffuser will need to be retrieved, likely by Bosco. He seems to be the closest to... Actually, no, it appears that it's on that first floor. What SSG really likes to do, by the way, is they like to just swing into piano with tons of time left after they've taken control of that second floor, rather. You have me doing it again. And then watch the various angles into piano. Thinking Nade on that flank watch is usually so critical in that role. Diffuser will be juggled as TSM are just playing out the clock. They have a lot of confidence and they're moving around the map with extreme gusto. Bolo still on yellow stairs. I feel like he's just going to remain there for the entire matchup. So we don't... If you're ever wondering, where's Bolo? When does Bolo play? Right now. Where's Bolo? In Las Vegas, Nevada. Where is he on the map? Yellow stairs. There you go. You have these 3 questions. There are your answers. So with that said, as long as he can stay in his position, he might be able to strike, but Merc swings on in, takes out Thinking Nate and Bosco, punished by Fultz. Fultz has been by far and away SSG's best player, but he's going to have an early grave. 20 seconds remaining with Bolo finding that kill over by Spiral. Leaves Rampy in a 1v3. He's got utility, and he's pulled off these miraculous clutches before, but he's not going to this time. He runs headfirst into Geo, who's playing above. TSM lock out the first 3 bomb sites. That's a great sweep. They've got the cycle, and they're up 3-0.
Okay, so it's worth noting statistically, both of these teams, when it comes to Consulate specifically, tend to do better on defense. But Space Station, if they're going to hit their typical attack half, they'll start winning rounds now because they have a 50% win rate on attack over the last 3 times they've played Consulate. Space Station right this second appear to be slacking, though, of course, it's, we're not done yet. So TSM looking better on defense, better in general, to be blunt. And clearly the reason they picked this map is evident. They're definitely looking very comfortable. That last round, SSG, as you mentioned, used one of their standard strategies where they attempt to sweep into Piano after taking control of CEO. This is a strategy we see employed by many teams, and TSM were ready. They not only managed to hurt the attack as they attempted to clear the top floor, but also Merc completely stopped the attack cold in Piano. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, TSM are playing into SSG's execution very well. And if that continues to happen, and if the guns on SSG continue to be as quiet as they are, please take a second to look at SSG's scoreboard. Then, well, Space Station will have a problem.
There were a couple rounds in the TSM DZ match on Monday where TSM seemed to be operating all on their own. It's something that we point out a lot about OXG, as it seems to be in OXG's wheelhouse. TSM have pulled it off on a couple different maps, on a couple different matchups, and I think that they just tailor it to their opponent. In this case, they seem to be very knowledgeable about how SSG is going to execute on all of these bomb sites. And because of that, they are always in a position where even if they're unsupported, they know that they can win when they challenge Space Station. The big problem is the only person that has proven any adeptness at all at being able to shut down TSM is Fultz. If you lose him, the rest of the team are not going to be able to make up that ground. Look at the scoreboard. I know we talk about skills not mattering. By the way, Bolo trades out with Fultz perfectly. Of the remaining 4 members of Space Station, there is 1 kill between them. That's on Canadian. So, yeah, you lose Bolo. He's been really good. Merc's had a couple good rounds. Achieved had some good performances. Geo, even though he has 2 kills, they've all been pretty high impact. SSG now find themselves with a pretty big trouble, or a pretty big struggle on their hands. They're going to need to find a way to make up for the fact that Fultz has all of their kills. And they're not going to be able to add to it. Achieved swats down Rampy, who drops through the hatch, and now Achieved might go for a run out. We know somebody's out there. They may not. SSG are really struggling right now.
Yeah, they surely are. I think the biggest problem with SSG is their information gathering, their droning and containing of the roamers. It's been pretty lackluster. That last round was actually, or this round, I'm already forecasting this one. But what happened there with Bolo was really weird. He looked like a Fultz-seeking missile as he ascended yellow stairs just to take the fight with Fultz. It's like he knew Fultz was there, and he was like, oh, I'm going to get that Fultz. And he got that Fultz. So well played to Bolo doing his job. And now, yeah, SSD looks a little harmless. At least they've managed to, as you said, shut down Bolo. But I don't really know that that's going to win them the round. Right now, SSG hasn't done anything to instill confidence. I was going to say they've got a chance, but Merc will just ascend yellow stairs and shut down Thinking Nade. Bosco does have a hammer, and there is a floor beneath his feet, so some work can be done. But I think it's going to be very meaningless at this point.
Here we go onto the garage wall. Selma will go off. Bosco encroaches upon the bomb site over on yellow stairs and completely misses that nade. That is very bad. His position given away, and there will be smoke for him to try and linger through, as it'll just do a little bit of damage. Achieve does get found from Bosco. A kill from Canadian here would be able to even things at 2 apiece, especially with how low Merc is. The Canadian is toiling at that breach hole. He'll need to wander on in. Bosco sustaining way too much damage. Canadian finished off, and the 1 HP of Bosco, with a hope and a prayer, will have 4 seconds to find 3 members of TSM. He knows that it's foolish to even try, so he'll just pad his stats, and we have this beautiful view of what appears to be under the map every single time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. Maybe it's an analogy for the burial that TSM is currently giving SSG. We don't know, but TSM's up 4-0.
It certainly could be that, Parker, and I think appropriate job done by the game to realize that this is turning into an absolute slaughter. But I actually know what that is. That's just a new bug that was introduced with the last update. In order to fix that one, you have to restart your client. Now, it's been... Okay, that last round... what we're seeing, I think what everyone is seeing, I'm going to lay it out, but I think most of you already noticed this. TSM are just peeking everything. I mean, what was happening there? A Cade peeking by side of white after the garage gets opened with, like, what, 20 seconds left? Is that the right call? In most cases, I would say no. But in this instance, it has clearly flustered SSG. TSM have SSG stumbling as a result of TSM's pure full-out aggression. The start of that round was what? Bolo running up yellow stairs just to take a fight to Fultz? What is that but aggression? And it continued through the round. The kill on yellow stairs from the Maestro, managing to get another kill for TSM. I believe that was Chala. No matter what, across the board, TSM have a game plan, and that game plan appears to be take the fight, go. Just go. And it's working. It's putting SSG in a really odd space. I think it's pretty obvious that SSG doesn't feel comfortable.
Well, the hope now will rest on Kafe. It's funny because when we were looking at the maps, Theme Park tends to be a pretty comfortable map for Space Station. If we get to that third map, I would suspect the needle would move in SSG's favor. But that obviously depends on what position SSG is in for Kafe, because we've also seen that TSM haven't had the best success on Kafe. One of the most noteworthy maps that we will think back on is against DZ in the major. Even though prior to that choke, we saw TSM be extremely strong on that map. Consulate right now, opening pick goes to Fultz, by the way. By my count, unless I'm missing something, this is SSG's very first technical opening duel, because the others were either TSM getting that first kill or an immediate trade. Those don't necessarily count. This is the first uncontested lead that SSG has had. It's on Merc. We've seen Merc do this Oryx roam over by Bathroom. He was flushed out by Fultz.
And obviously it is, yeah, as you said, Fultz to get that opening pick. Everybody else on SSC still struggling to find the scoreboard, really.
Esports Rookie of the Year nominee, by the way.
Yeah, don't forget to vote for Fultz. As I think he definitely deserves it, and he's showing that here in this match. The rest of his team is struggling. He is struggling harder to try and put them on the board. TSM...
If I may interject for a second here, by the way.
You may.
Ken HD was the first person to catch the reference on twitter.com. Thank you very much, Ken, about my joke, by the way.
Get a clap in the chat for Ken HD.
Is clap enabled?
I hope so.
Chat's too busy spamming cat jam, but we really need lol W, kek W, and clap enabled as well if they are not. So if you're listening, get those done. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. I
Clap
interrupted.
is a pretty... No, that's okay. Clap is a pretty standard one, and I agree. Now, TSM still have full control over their site, and it doesn't seem like SSG, despite having a man advantage, is actually putting any significant amount of pressure onto the bomb site itself. That's the main thing I'm taking away from this. SSG is somewhat twisting... I don't want to say uselessly, they just haven't managed to get much done in the time that they've been afforded. They're going to need to start turning their focus to the actual bomb site so they can pressure not only the site itself to get that plant, but also the C4 players from below.
Unbelievable. Another from Fultz. 25 seconds left. He's almost broken. Danny will break double digits. Looking for yet another. Bosco picks up kill number 2 and a flawless round from Space Station as they seem to be trying to make up for ground in a hurry. They have absolute control, and as we see on a bomb site like Archives Tellers, which it just was, you can lose that bomb site in a real hurry, and that's exactly what happens with TSM. The walls close in on you, you're not playing the angles well, and the thing with Space Station was that they didn't really have much of a challenge when setting up and establishing themselves on that top floor or that middle floor, especially with Bosco being in play. I noted how incredibly important a sledge is to continuously apply pressure. Not only do you have to worry about the holes that have already been created, but everybody that's played an anchor spot on Garage, on Consulate, by White Van knows exactly what it's like when a sledge starts smashing the ceiling above you and you don't know where it's going to come from next, and you constantly have to move. There's a restlessness and there's a feeling of pressure. Bosco is a player that can bring that phantom pressure just by nature of how good he is. He clutches often. He's performed basically, incredible feats of strength on whatever operator he's on. Pair him with the fact that it's a sledge on a map that has an abundance of soft destruction on a bomb site that relies on defenders taking that soft destruction away from the attackers, and Bosco can play an almost oversized role on it.
Oversized indeed. But you know what's not oversized, Parker? The limited time Pro League skins that you can pick up to directly support Rainbow Six Esports Pro teams. They're a great skin set overall, no matter what. Pretty much all of them. Actually, no, I can say confidently all of them. I got them all. I think they're fantastic. And they support the teams. It's not much better a cause that you could purchase in terms of skins in Siege. So don't forget to pick those up as you can. In this map, here and now, the Lion in that last round was the thing that I took away most, Parker. I thought that it's been a good use for SSG. SSG is clearly dealing with a level of aggression from TSM that they're not comfortable with. The Lion is doing good work in containing that. So that's why you're seeing it now become a staple. But it might be a little bit late for SSG. They only have this last round to recover anything on the first half.
Lion is a very frustrating operator. TSM have a mute available, so they can play around those jammers wherever they may be. 3 of them have been placed, so Chala can put one down if they worry about where the Lion may or may not be striking from. Once again, we are going to see this top floor hold, something that will be incredibly common when Space Station goes onto defense at the end of this round. They will obviously be swapping sides. Now, with it being a lobby defense for TSM, holding this top floor is crucial. Fultz looks the wrong way. He doesn't see Chala playing behind the overturned table. And the best player on Space Station by a country mile is no more. All 10 kills will sit on the bench. That's 90 seconds into the round, 90 seconds remaining in the round, and SSG have lost one of their most crucial tools.
The question is, will SSG be able to work some magic with the rest of their players? We've been waiting to see it happen, and, well, it doesn't seem to be the case. Merc and Achieve both running out and getting a kill for each other. That's a good start there for the end of this half. Big and Canadian now up against the world, both with LMGs in hand, but, well, Canadian will drop his as he falls to the floor. Bolo shutting him down, leaving just Thinking Nade, and 50 seconds to find 5 kills. Doesn't seem likely, but he'll drop into Visa and actually get some detections there. Hear the player ascending Banana and go on the pre-aim, but from above. It's Geo to finish off the round. And TSM answers a flawless round with their own flawless round to end the half.
The setup that you see from Space Station is something they've done before. They forego a hard breacher, knowing that it is very likely going to be lobby. If it's not lobby, it's probably going to be Archives Tellers. Garage is locked, and TSM isn't going to go upstairs to the top floor. So you bring tools that work on both lobby and archives. And like I said, when it's a lobby take, Space Station loves swinging into piano, making sure that somebody has control above, having Thinking Nade and Canadian both in the same position, ensuring that you've got bathroom control, fighting the remaining members that are going to pressure you from the main lobby, antechamber, spiral stairs, or Zulu as it's called, or maybe even yellow stairs if you can hold that cross or put somebody out outside. And with Canadian on the Capitao and Thinking Nade on the Lion, you're going to smoke off Piano. You're going to try and put a fire arrow for denial. The Lion is going to save 1 to 2 of those charges for a post plant. Possibly use one while the plant is going down and then use the second in the post plant once the recharge is finished. And then TSM are going to try to retake against it. Now, TSM actually met that perfectly, and it's something that they did their entire defense. They were aggressive. They peaked everything. If you allow SSG to get set up, they're going to do so in such a meticulous way that they know where you're going to be coming from. Consulate's a relatively linear map. When TSM tries to retake, they're going to be engaged in gunfights that SSG are already prepared for. So TSM decides to take the fight to them early, playing off the intel they have. They swing on the main door, they swing on Visa, they play well upstairs. Fultz loses his battle inside a projector, and just like that, the setup that SSG needs, they no longer have the man count to pull it off, and that's what causes Thinking Nate and Canadian to go upstairs and have to do the clearing themselves, at which they lose both of their gunfights.
So, heavy roam upstairs, shield set up, all the 9 yards here for SSG. A double shield set up. What are words, Parker? A double shield set up here in connector and by Bosco spot. It's always funny to me when someone other than Bosco on SSG is playing Bosco spot, because it was affectionately named Bosco spot. It's where Thinking Nate is.
When
right?
he was on Era,
Where
by the
Thinking
way.
Nate is, yeah.
When he was on Era.
Because he
Yes.
was playing, he played that spot really, really well. I think he was the meta setter because for a long time people had trouble holding projector, but he managed it. Anyway, the hold upstairs is really stalwart, and a run out from Canadian will catch Achieved off guard, but it is a one for one. So it's not the end of the world for TSM, but I like that Canadian is taking the fight to TSM despite the round disadvantage.
There's obviously confidence there from Space Station still. This is a team that makes it to the finals of SI after being pummeled. They had the stuffing kicked out of them by NIP for 2 straight maps, and then still managed to make a comeback happen and then win the trophy. So clearly this is a team that is not going to be too phased by pressure, especially against an adversary like TSM, of which SSG has a very good rapport against this squad. Their record against them is better than most teams. They're going to continue the killing, so defense obviously working out quite well through the 1 round that we've seen from Space Station as they blunt some of TSM's momentum. They take down Chala. Chala has a set of smokes. For TSM, they have a backup in Geo's hands, though we don't see smoke strats being the be-all end-all on Consulate.
Nah, not a lot of smoke strats as of late. We haven't really seen them really used that much, actually. But TSM could still make something happen without the smokes. Especially with the Evil Eyes in play, it's unlikely to actually work out well. Right now, TSM's just looking for picks. You can see them making a bunch of holes, even with, Selmas. They're using what they've got at their disposal to try and pick up a pick or two. This is going to be a late flank from Bosco, but Fultz will go down as Merc entries into Piano. Thinking Aid inside of or above Bathroom will get 1, and there's that flank working to down Geo, leaving just Merc in the 1v3. Not going to happen, though. Rampy shuts him down, and SSG on defensive Consulate proving their worth.
Not exactly the most inspiring round for TSM on attack. Once again, unpredictability is the name of the game. TSM harnessed it on that first defense. Space Station turns around, does the exact same thing. Always moving, always flying under the line of sight of TSM. The run out from Canadian does get traded off. You've got the play upstairs, the aggressiveness inside a projector. You've got the aggressiveness playing on the main floor, over by lobby, over by piano. And it's going to cause these teams to continuously re-drone and reassess where they're going to attack from. Mute has been an operator that has been present for most of this map. He obviously makes it a significant challenge for teams to be able to gain information. Space Station is going to fall back on a very reliable set of operators for them. Many would argue they were the best team in the world when it came to this meta, which was popularized in large part by them, which involves Mute, Mozzie, Vigil, and maybe even a Castle. Castle obviously absent. They're going to go with Maestro, who's available. Maestro's ban rate had started to go up since Echo's not in play anymore, but thankfully for both of these teams, given that Merc, Fultz are both very capable Maestro players, he's available. Thinking Nade's going to be on the Maestro this time, though. So SSG is going to fall back on a strat that worked so well. When the meta shifted away from the Mute Mozzie meta that we saw, which is information denial, which was the very beginning of this 20-second meta that a lot of people talked about, and now has moved to this utility denial, or this utility removal simulator meta, SSG have seemingly shown that they are not as capable as they used to be. They're still a very good team. No longer the undisputed best team in the world. I think it's funny that they're going to run with operators that maybe not the most optimal across the game, but for SSG obviously shows a certain level of comfort.
We could call it the burn and build meta. It's all about having enough burn to clear out ADSs and Womai's, explosives to destroy things, and plenty of things to build, shields, Malusi's, Evil Eyes. Just throw it up. Make it so you have to chew through all of the nonsense. I don't know. There's a couple other names I'm sure you could come up with, but like basically, yeah, it's a pretty monotonous meta for most players. On the top of yellow stairs, Rampy going to be rotating actually over to CEO. He'll have a good line of sight into Projector. Now, he can delay further, but he's being tracked by the Jackal of Chala, which is actually going to force a... I think he's tempted to rotate out. Yeah, there you go. He's already left. It's a good rotate. The Mark still in CEO will distract TSM for a solid amount of time, and SSG can potentially leverage that to take this round. Finally, though, TSM has cleared out the top floor. And they'll start to turn their focus to the middle floor, where Bolo will win the Fultz fight. It's a big one, as Fultz has actually been a little bit quiet as of late. Canadian shutting down Bolo, though, as he attempts to descend yellow stairs, and TSM, well, they're going to find themselves at even man count once again.
SSG might not be staring down match point, but they are pretty damn close, and they're going to be on that razor's edge for a while, though 3 rounds can disappear relatively quickly depending on how a cycle goes. The thing is, well, TSM are on the harder side of this map right now, based on what we've seen, which is attack. They're managing to keep it relatively even, though Canadian has really woken up 3 kills so far for him on defense. Merc now dropped inside of the main lobby. That means that it's Geo in a 1v3. Bosco picking up 2 kills. He is uncontested upstairs, playing inside a projector, very close to Bosco's spot, as we talked about. So will Geo go for a reset? Because, well, he's got utility left, but this is going to be a big challenge because the members of SSG are smart. They're going to deny him entry to the garage. They're going to deny him entry to yellow stairs. They're going to deny him entry to piano, because those are the only 3 avenues that Geo has any realistic shot at taking with 30 seconds remaining. He's not even going to make it past yellow stairs. It's another kill for Canadian. That's a huge round from him. He had a big round the round before on Valkyrie, and on Kaid playing this beautiful rat angle. I love to see it. Space Station takes yet another round, their 2nd in a row.
So TSM took control of the top floor. They almost got control of the middle floor. But before they could fully solidify their control of the 2 top floors, SSG retook upstairs and ended up doing a lot of work from it. They also managed to stay alive in that middle floor and actually fight the roam clear and win, which is not uncommon. It's not normal, though. And so props to SSG for a really solid roam. TSM wasn't even given an opportunity to execute onto the site. In fact, through this entire map, we've yet to see much execution onto the bomb site. That's been a trend line that we've been tracking through this one. It's been mostly fights with the roamers and the roam clear. We'll finally go to archives for SSG. See how they fare here. They're bringing plenty of C4, and they'll also, I'm sure, have Rampy on the roam. Jackal still being brought from TSM. I think that's wise. The Jackal is going to be very helpful when it comes to clearing out those roamers, or at least speeding up that process. But overall, the roam clear has been one of the biggest faults of both of these teams' attacks.
No, it's Fultz.
5 seconds remaining.
I mean, it's close, Parker, but I don't know. That's a stretch.
You said it's pronounced Fultz.
It's a stretch, Parker. I mean, I didn't slur, did I?
You said Fultz. You said Fultz with a New Jersey accent.
I'm trying to imagine a New Jersey accent. Could you help me out?
No, absolutely not. I'm not doing accents on broadcast because I'll just make a fool of myself. Just ask Bacon. Bacon does a great New Jersey accent, probably because he's from there.
Okay, I will ask him for a clip sometime. And the admin...
No, it's Eclipse.
Oh, okay. Now I see my mistake, Parker. Forgive me. In the admin office, we've got a Rampy trying to stay alive on top of the filing cabinet. He's going to do his darndest, but he's actually basically trapped right now. So his main goal here is waste as much time as possible.
This is a very similar spot that we've seen Vigils play in before. Jaegers can also play here with ADSs at their disposal. I don't think we've ever seen a Wamai play there. Not sure. Speaking of Jaeger, he's very present in admin office. It's thinking, Nate. Geo picks off Fultz. So the Mozzie was playing inside of the top floor. Well, actually, I don't know his exact positioning. It looks like he was in projector. He's not going anywhere. Rampy also taking a ton of damage. There goes a flash. It gets eaten by the ADS. Rampy head down, tries to soldier on, but he can't go anywhere. Have they figured out Thinking Nade's location inside of admin? Because right now, TSM has SSG on the ropes. 2 kills for TSM will give them a 5v3 with still half of the round to go. Upside down repels as jackal tracks are going off. This is not an enviable position for Thinking Nade whatsoever. He's on the run and he's finished off by Merc. We'll swing on in and take full command of admin alongside the jackal of Chala. Canadian and Bosco, both of whom have been significantly better on defense so far, will have to keep that level of play up as they are going to fall to match point if they are unable to do so.
Well, it certainly seems like that is the outcome for this round. We'll see what they can do. TSM are not rushing themselves, though. They've gotten control of the top floor. I love the way that TSM played that, containing admin office and then clearing from CEO, managing to get all the kills that were exposed to the attack, winning that roam clear outright. They might even end it in a flawless round as Bosco goes down without getting anything for himself. Canadian trying to do something by the main lobby, but he exposes himself unknowingly, and Bolo picks up the last kill, putting us on to map point here for TSM.
Quite a lot of confidence on their side, and they have every reason to be confident as finally we will see the trend line break. However, what this means is that we still saw 2 successful defenses for SSG, and now the cycle will begin anew. They won lobby, they won garage, they forfeited archives tellers. That was the one bomb site that TSM gave up when they were on defense. So back to lobby SSG goes. They win here, they go to garage for round number 11. Suddenly, this is a much closer matchup than it is right now. Obviously, that's us getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because regardless of what side they're on, TSM have looked like they are far more in command of this map than SSG. SSG's strategy of being unpredictable, taking gunfights, etc., just like TSM did, worked very well on those first 2 bomb sites. Didn't work so well on Archives Tellers. Archives Tellers is a bomb site that when you lose, you can lose quite quickly. We talked about this extensively, and SSG's investment on that top floor got picked apart within the first minute or so by TSM. At which point we saw SSG go down to a 2v5. Doesn't really matter what bomb site you're playing on. A 2v5 is incredibly difficult to hang on to. The only bomb site I can really think of where there'd be a fighting chance would be the top floor dorms bomb site for Oregon. But that's really the only one. Outside of that, you are going to be hard pressed to hang on. So opening picks obviously very important if TSM can continue to win the opening duel fight, which so far, by the way, they have only surrendered 2 opening duels to Space Station. That's it so far through the 9 rounds that we've seen. If TSM can crack that nut, so to speak, then they'll have no problem with the rest of the round, I'm sure.
Valkyrie cam outside, I think. Should give good information to...
Or debris, we don't know.
Or yeah, or debris. That should give good information to SSG, and if it's debris, then it's useless. TSM will get the first pick in the round. Down goes Rampy as Merc just walks into Visa lobby. That's going to be probably the beginning of the end as Canadian gets aggressive and dies himself. TSM are, I'm sure, very happy with the results of the first minute of this round and are looking, I'm guessing, to carry this into a win. TSM will probably play this smart and slow and careful to not make any mistakes that could cost them the round that they've already bought.
I was actually talking to Flynn last night. Disgraced caster, by the way, now current player, has achieved kills Bosco. I just wanted to call him Disgraced because I know that he's watching and I know that he's going to be unhappy with that. But anyway, he was talking about how if Mirage prevails from the Canadian division, that he said, we're going to have to play either SSG or TSM, and then he laughed. So obviously not happy about this outcome right now through one map. It sure seems like it's going to be SSG if this tempo keeps up. Thinking Nade takes out Bolo and he'll head back to lobby. There's another challenge for him heading towards Visa. He'll wait. Oh no, Merc goes on to cams. He gets off at the right time. He manages to catch Thinking Nade as he wanders away. A minute left. Toxic Canister will go up as Thinking Nade will now head towards the bathroom with Fultz watching inside of Zulu. A drop from Thinking Nade. There's Merc to punish him. He gets read like a book. Merc is just performing quite well. It's been the story of the Ashe mains so far. Another kill is available for him as Fultz is prone. Diffuser going down, and Merc will get it. That was a quick one. 7-3 for TSM as they take their first map, and they don't seem to break much of a sweat in the process.
Well, map number 1, quite definitive. Parker, I was going to make a joke about Flynn, but TSM didn't give us any time, so I guess it'll have to wait for later.
No, please make it. Just make it.
Okay, well, I was gonna say you better watch out, Parker, because Flynn has a really good KD, being a now professional player, and he's got a lot of hours played, so he might be coming for your job. You got to be careful.
I mean, Michael, we do hire casters based solely on the amount of hours they have in game and
true.
the number of diamond charms that they can equip to their weapons. And in that case, I hate to say it, but Flynn has me beat on both accounts. So I hope you enjoy casting with Flynn. I never did. I'm just kidding.
Well, maybe we'll have to rethink that hiring methodology. But that was a pretty, I was going to say intense, but more, actually, honestly, more one-sided map for map number 1. Now, it was TSM's map pick, so keep that in mind. But still, quite definitive, that result.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, honestly. SSG are a team that since this meta switched up, even prior to the major, whether a lot of teams kind of shrugged off their results at the major or whether they qualified for the major by saying, oh, it's just online, it's not as important as an actual LAN event, blah, blah. Sure, whatever excuses work for teams. But it is very clear that the SSG that won SI was in a state and was playing in a meta that suited them a lot more than the current meta and the current style of gameplay. SSG is still a great team. I don't ever want them written off, and nobody should. But it is very clear that there is no definitive number 1 in North America right now. It is very much up for grabs. We've seen periods of time where OXG have looked like the finest team. DZ looked like far and away the best team at the major. There were periods of time where TSM looked incredibly dominant. Space Station as well. They had their time in the sun. So, with that said, we'll see what happens in map number 2. But before we get there, a commercial break and then some beautiful analysts to carve up that very first map. Don't touch your browser.
Welcome back, everyone, and TSM, holy, map 1 Consulate 7-3. I am with Belly and Jesse. I'm Jackie Jing, and let's go through the highlights, gentlemen. That was tough to watch at times, but some really good plays.
Yeah, it was really tough to watch, but it was pretty much what Jesse called out during the pregame talk, right? Spacestation Gaming, they struggled so much on attack and allowed players like Bolo to run free on yellow stairs, rack up kills, and destroy them when it came to rounds. And it doesn't feel like the Space Station that, you know, I grew up watching at the beginning of the season, right, Jesse? It was pretty lackluster in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, this whole map was very active, I guess I would say. There was a ton of roaming, I'd say, from both teams. TSM probably executed on that a little bit better and also countered it a little bit better when they moved over to attack. But this wasn't really the same, like, utility dump style map that we see a lot of the times. A lot of these rounds were really like you've got 4 roamers running around when the bomb site's the basement, you know, or it's really aggressive kind of shenanigans. And that's the way the game still does play sometimes. So it was pretty fun to see. We've got our stats coming up now, and yeah, I mean, Fault's kind of the only player that popped off for Space Station.
Wow.
Well,
Rampy, thinking they
yeah.
like this isn't what I'm used to seeing, Jack.
Totally agree with you. You know, Veli, before the match, you said SSG really had to step it up on attack. But, I mean, look at Bolo and Merc when we look at these stats here. And they put a huge dent in their attack strats. Whew.
Yeah. You want to know what happened, Jackie?
What?
Bolo happened. I believe if I math this right, I'm pretty terrible at math, right? Failed it my whole life. I believe TSM won 80% of the entry duels, something that Parker was talking about early. It all started off simple. We saw Bosco get picked off early from the spawn peak. We saw Bolo in yellow stairs handling 1v2s and challenging with the utmost confidence in the world. Merc is getting 2Ks off screen. This is a TSM that we have been waiting for a long time to really dominate Spacestation Gaming. But this really troublesome. This is really worrisome for me when it comes to Space Station. Against Oxygen last time when it came to attack, they looked like they could encounter some of the looks that were going against, especially against Clash when Bio was on her. And they were taking so long. This time around, they couldn't get entry kills. I believe it was, what was it, the 5th round, 6th round? Where Foltz had about 10 kills or 6 kills, and everyone else had 0 and 1.
Yeah.
It's weird. Entry fragging for this team is becoming a problem, and they need to pick it up, or this might turn out to be a 2-0.
Yeah, definitely not the strongest map, rather, for SSG. Jesse, we were chatting earlier, and you thought that the intel was a weaker point of their game here.
Yeah, for Space Station, I think when they were on attack, you know, finding out these roamers was obviously a big challenge for them. It was awkward because, like, it often seemed like they had the drones alive late round. Like, they weren't... You watch some teams, and by the time you get to 30 seconds, they've got, like, 1 or 2 drones up. Space Station had, like, 4 or 5 most of the time. But they just still weren't catching those flanks. And it's hard to tell exactly what the reason of that might be without being able to listen to comms. Maybe it's a misdroning issue, maybe it's a communication issue. I think a lot of it also relies on the fact that TSM are very good at moving around Consulate. Yeah. You know, depending on where the bomb site is, they know a million different routes they can get to you. And if you manage to pick off one of those roamers, there seems to be another one either running out to get that refrag or coming up some staircase to get that refrag. They really know their way around this map and they know how to work together. So I thought the roam game from TSM made it very difficult for Space Station to get anything accomplished, and you saw them try to replicate that when they moved to defense. They were trying more of that like Mute Mozzie Vigil type roam, and it was working, but I thought TSM did a better job of getting those kills on the roam clear early, making sure that information didn't expire by the time they got those kills, and in some cases even just getting kills without even entering the building. You know, it's a lot safer as long as you're watching those runouts, so I thought TSM did a great job there.
Okay, so gentlemen, we are working to bring up a graphic here, and we wanted to deep dive into cost a little bit. And Veli, you're going to be breaking that down for us?
Yes, kills, objective, survivability, and trade. And when it comes to survivability, thinking they didn't have much of that, right? But Chala, he did exactly that. 4 for 4, he did exactly what he had to do. Now, these players, this stat line is really important because they both play the same roles on attack. They're both flank watch, and Chala's been doing a fantastic job at that. Also, being, he was getting entry kills as well. He was the one that got it on full. Sorry, I was looking at my notes. But that being on Chala's side is great. Thinkinade, no, it's not great, especially against TSM. And like Jesse said, just the freedom that you saw TSM roam around the map, that's really Thinkinade's job. And for players like that to really undersell themselves on the map like Consulate, it hurts Space Station Gaming. Thinkinade, though, he knows what he messed up with, and I believe he's going to be back stronger map number 2. I expect it, Jackie.
All right. Well, you know, we were just chatting about cost, and for our community poll question, it is a cost battle. So you just saw Thinkinade and Chala. So Thinkinade and Chala, we're tied at 79% for stage 2. Who has the higher one today? And Chala came out, I think, with 60% when we looked at that stat there. But he won 54%. Thinking he'd only got 46% there. But thank you to everybody for participating in our community poll question.
Both really players, though.
Yeah, amazing players. Really excited for map 2 here, gentlemen. I just want to pick your brains about final thoughts. How do we think map 2 is going to go, Veli?
Oh, man. Space Station, it's all fun and games when you're the world champs and you're raising trophies until you go against a TSM that's hungry to take that title from you. And but I think TSM, they're looking for the W, no less. Space Station, they have a huge target on their back right now.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse? You picked SSG. So
He picked SSG. Yes.
Yeah, and I joked on Twitter with Canadian's mom that I might switch my prediction in between these maps. But you know what? I'm not going to do it because I think Kafe plays considerably different from Consulate.
Yeah.
I think the roam patterns are going to be a little bit more predictable. I think that it's going to be easier for Space Station to pin these down. And it is just a map that Space Station performs significantly better on than TSM. That was definitely the worst map of the 3 that Space Station just played. So it should only be uphill from here. I'm expecting them to bounce back still.
All right, so Jesse's sticking with his pick, Veli's sticking with his, but
Yeah.
let's move on to map 2 here, gentlemen. That is Kafe. I'm gonna toss it over to our casters, Kix and Intero, and Mel, my favorite little stuffed koala. Hi guys.
That's the
I
koala's
love
name.
Mel. Yeah, his name is Mel.
I
You
would
didn't
have
know
to.
that?
The first question I have is how many other stuffed koalas have you even met? That's the question I have.
That's true.
I
See-
understand that it's your favorite, but
Yeah.
I suspect you probably haven't come across many of them. Now, we're going to get into this matchup in just a second. It's Space Station's map, and TSM on map number 1 looking extremely dominant. And you also can look that dominant in ranked by playing on this laptop right here. This is the Predator Helios 700, and you can punish your opponents in ranked the same way that TSM punished Space Station on map number 1 by playing on this behemoth of a laptop. Thank you so much to our friends over at Predator/Acer for providing this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king of transitions, Parker Mackay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. At least I can be the king of something.
Yeah. Now, the kings of this match, though, have yet to be crowned. We're waiting to see who's actually going to take this one. I know that it was a really dominant map number 1 by TSM, but of course, that is their map pick. They, I think, were expecting a result like that. They also played in a very unique way. TSM was pulling out all the stops with the aggression. They really did try to keep SSG uncomfortable, and they were successful. Going on to Kafe, though, I think things are going to change a little bit. Kafe, as a map, is a little bit more difficult to make those aggressive plays on, with the one small exception of the spawn peaks. There is a plethora of spawn peaks on Kafe. It is one of the most spawn peakable maps out there. So at least in that regard, TSM can keep up the pressure. But in all other regards, the aggression will be somewhat halted. It's also worth noting that statistically, Kafe is a pretty bad map for TSM. They've played it 3 times. They've won it a single time against Disrupt, and they've lost it 2 other times against DZ and Oxygen. Whereas SSG, while they have mixed results on Kafe, they managed to beat DZ twice on it, lost to DZ once on it, and lost to Oxygen once on it. So better results overall for SSG, and obviously that's why they brought us here. And I think SSG's structure will be able to flourish here. We're probably going to get a much closer map number 2 than Consulate.
I think one thing to note about those statistics as well, because all stats to some extent need context. And in this, SSG's best performances on this map came when Echo was playable.
True.
He is not any longer. So we're going to see a very different style of gameplay from both of these teams. We know that SSG likes running Echo on this map, especially on the top floor and especially on the bottom floor. He's not available. Echo is still removed from competitive play. Maestro is an operator that has kind of filled that void to a certain extent. We see lots of teams running both Maestro and Valkyrie for that added oomph when it comes to intel. Maestro is a very obvious targeted ban against certain teams. Now, on Consulate, he managed to escape the ban phase. Why? Because Merc is a really strong Maestro on TSM, just as Fultz is on SSG. It would be a self-inflicted wound to a certain extent for either of these teams to ban a Maestro unless they have managed to play around it. And it's very possible that these teams could be coming in bringing something a little bit different. There's always a constant state of flux when it comes to building up strats and map pools and all that jazz. I wouldn't be too surprised with how crucial this matchup is. I wouldn't be too surprised to see something maybe kind of new from these teams, regardless of the bomb site, regardless of the operator.
Those of you wondering what's going on, we are still waiting for 2 players from SSG to join the lobby. Once we have them, we will get underway with map number 2. And yeah, the ban phase has been drastically changed with the permaban, I guess you could say, or the temporary quarantine, whatever you want to, however you want to describe it, of Echo. And I think it's made for more dynamic ban phase overall on the defensive side. We see a lot of operators that get banned out just for their sheer power. Yes. And Echo was certainly one of them for the longest time. So to see that change, I think, is pretty fantastic. It makes things more interesting.
Echo is practicing good hygiene and safe policy by self-isolating.
Yes, that's exactly right. He's infected and he needs to be careful. He was always wearing a mask, but it just, you know, he's got to be safe for others. Now, we do have everybody in the lobby.
You have to say he's infected.
What?
Why'd you have to say he's infected? He's maybe he's fine.
Maybe he is fine. Maybe, yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Has anybody checked up on him recently?
I saw him yesterday, but I haven't checked up on him since, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't play this game, so.
Oh, you don't play this game? Okay, no. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've never seen Echo.
Never seen Echo before. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, he's pretty good, a really good operator. He's got a 1.5 on his MP5. And
remember, laziness is clever efficiency?
Yeah, I do remember that line. So you've heard his lines, you just never seen him?
Once or twice.
Right.
We're not going to see him, by the way, in this map, but we're ready to see these two teams collide in spectacular fashion. Hopefully, it's going to be a more balanced matchup than what we saw for map number 1 as we now look to SSG's map. This is going to be on Kafe. TSM has the upper hand as they enter with a 1-map lead. If they win, they get the 3rd and final automatic spot to the major. That would put SSG in a position where they will have to compete in a bracket, aka the gauntlet, to see if they're able to come out of it with the spot at the major, joining OXG and DZ. But first, let's not write any team off because we still have a match to play. It's not played on paper. Operator bans happening in front of your very eyes.
I could see it being played on paper, like a Dungeons and Dragons type deal. You know, you roll a die.
You know, Rainbow Six D&D is a. I think that's the crossover we never knew we wanted, but we've enjoyed nonetheless.
Yeah, it'd be pretty fun. I've always wanted to do some D&D, but I've never had any friends to do it with. Now, we've got the defense starting off here for TSM, and they'll go to Reading Fireplace. Interesting that we're going to start in a middle of the map bomb site. Typically, you'll see the top of the bottom played first here, but not for TSM.
The site rotation that we've seen on Kafe has been an interesting thing. I mean, when Kafe first released, every single team was going to what was the best bomb site on the old Kafe. Maybe it was just force of habit. Maybe it was that the strats could still transfer over well. But the bomb site that was seen as the indisputed best was the top floor, the double cocktail bomb site. Well, teams have now decided maybe it's not the best bomb site anymore. So instead, they have started using Kitchen as the 1A to Reading Room's 1B, and it's not uncommon for us to go through an entire professional Kafe match without seeing that top floor bomb site at all, because teams have started to use that dining and mining bomb site, which is adjoined to the Reading bomb site, very similarly to the same way that they defend Reading and the same way that they defend Cocktail. And this was all going to hinge on the a roam of the top floor. TSM are obviously expecting a heavy presence above, and they have fallback plans, aka an insurance plan, with 3 nitro cells.
Whoa.
But that is an early pick. Merc decides to go for a good night, but instead he has an earlier bedtime. And that's some commendation given towards Rampy, as Rampy ends up winning that fight and gets the very first pick of the matchup.
Drops get opened up here on the ceiling, and Rampy pre-firing the skylight, maybe expecting C4. Nothing happening yet, though, from TSM. They were still trying to be aggressive, and Achieved is actually going to be playing by Red Stairs, ascending to meet Fultz. But the phone call will force Achieved back. There you go. That's a good use of the Dokkaebi from SSG, where once we were seeing TSM just take every single fight they could, and I'm sure Achieved would have taken that fight on Red, he had to fall back because of that phone call. So that's going to be, I think, a common thing moving forward on the attack half for SSG. They'll try to push off TSM in indirect ways. They're hunting him, though.
They are. And they've spotted the Malusi, know exactly the positioning. It's going to be a fight between Fultz and Achieved, who will now get pinched, but he's pushed from 2 different angles. He gets found and hunted down by Rampy, even though Fultz was the one to start that off. This unpredictable style of play from TSM has, unfortunately for them and their fans, resulted in an early death for Achieved. Obviously, Merc's spawn peak is an outlier. That's not going to be something that I expect us to see him repeat. But it has put his team in a hole. And TSM had momentum coming in here. Remember, there is no momentum system in Rainbow Six. It's not like operators lock or weapons are unavailable. All the momentum that we talk about in this game is purely in the players' heads. And right now, I think it's not really up for debate that SSG has it. On the hunt, Geo, he's got 2 lined up, but it's an SMG-11. That's going to be a challenge. He gets it downed on Thinking Nade before it can be called out. Shotgun in hand, another pump, and he's ready for it. But he'll have to engage on red stairs. He's going to be at a disadvantage despite having the high ground. He'll shoot open the hatch just to distract over by the humidor, as it's referred to as. Fultz finished off from Chala, so both these SAS operators, the remaining ones, doing well. There goes a diffuser, but Canadian will survive it. Damage done to Geo. And now he's going to need to come on in as he swings in. Big play from Geo. 2 kills. TSM have turned this round around. Bosco in a 1v2. He'll have to pull off a miraculous clutch. He sees the leg of Geo and he'll pulverize him, leading a Chala versus Bosco showdown. No intel, though, so Bosco will have to fly on in. He's good at clutching, but he's not going to do it against Chala. TSM, despite all odds, they take the round in impressive fashion.
Chala and Geo, what a big round. 3 for Geo, 2 for Chala, and boy, howdy. Was that an impressive retake of the top floor? You're seeing it on your screen right there. This play from Geo upstairs and the follow-up play right here as he comes into the reading door clinched the round for TSM. Great stuff from Geo. I am honestly confounded, Parker. I am impressed by Geo, but at the same time, how did SSG let that one slip away? I mean, you're dealing with 2 SAS operators, and I know they've got a lot of utility. They've got great close-range engagement capabilities, but they're not supposed to be able to pull something like that off. SSG had the outright man advantage, and they left top floor control. Why? I know they lost 1 player in piano, but that does not... They were leaving the top floor. SSG was leaving the top floor before they even lost that player. It seemed like they didn't care about it anymore, which is confusing. Usually the top floor is used to apply pressure in reading to allow for the reading plant by the clock. I just... Strange round from SSG. Great round from Geo. Great round from Chala. Between them taking it. And TSM must be in high spirits after that.
Yeah, that's a confidence breaker, especially with SSG starting off on such strong footing. You know, TSM took the fight to them on Consulate. SSG is not a particularly strong Consulate team. TSM is. The result goes as I think a lot of people probably expected. And if you look at these maps, yeah, the analysts seem to think that SSG had a slight edge. I think the only edge they have comes on Theme Park. I think unless things go catastrophically wrong for SSG, this map is still theirs for the taking. Obviously, Echo being removed is going to throw a wrench in SSG's plans. They're going to be able to play around it, regardless. They head into this map. They get 2 picks. That pick onto Merc was relatively free. Their follow-up pick as well, onto Achieved, quite strong. They hunt him down. It's good coordination on their part, and they have every reason to continue onward and think that they're going to be able to control this matchup. It's a 2v5. They still somehow lose it. And yeah, I think that's extremely deflating on their end. I think it was just they got a bit too hasty, and they tried to pivot too quickly through the mid-round and thought that they had a larger advantage than they did, and it got blown up. And especially got blown up by the flank of Geo upstairs, who completely flew under the radar of SSG.
This time, SSG vying for control of the top floors, and they'll get it. TSM on the roam, but horizontal, not vertical. Extended out of sight, but not above sight. TSM are in good spot to slow down the take when it comes to the actual site itself. But they're going to have to deal with the holes that are going to be opened by Rampy using his hammer. What did we call that, Parker? The, he's doing the... Anyway, Rampy doing the on the floor, and he's putting in great work with it. He's already managed to force the anchors to stay somewhat stationary in the site. Hasn't gotten a pick out of it yet, but that might come. Just got to give it a little bit more time.
There's a pre-placed C4 as well from Bolo. Gio's tossed his out now. I don't know where the bandit intends for that one to explode, but it's in front of Gio. That might be Bolo's. I'm not entirely sure, but you can hear the sounds of it. And I mean, because it's right next to the opening, they're going to be aware of it on Space Station's side as well. There appears to be a nitro cell detonated. The other one is primed and ready as a logic bomb will go off. Fultz blinded and punished by Achieved. He's playing over by Freezer and doing double duty. Down goes Canadian, twisting and turning with Diffuser in hand. Rampy trying to keep it close, but he's punished by Bolo. Outswings the Capitao. He wins this one. SSG will need to grab that Diffuser. 10 seconds left. This is going to be tough, but Bosco catches one. He knows that there's another in his position. He hunts him down. Bosco just needs one more remaining, and he'll get it. Every single kill lines up for Bosco. Space Station steals that one from TSM, avenging the previous round.
Bosco winning every fight he's presented with. What a round from the man. And geez, that should have easily gone the way of TSM. But Bosco snatches victory from the jaws of defeat, as the saying goes, with a quad kill. Beautiful stuff from him. TSM needed just a little bit of aggression. One of those players needed to actually take the fight with Bosco. Instead, they all waited for the clock to end, assuming that would get them the dub. It didn't. Well played there. SSG, take it. And, well, this match is starting to hype up as we all hoped it would. SSG starting to take rounds on their map.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being...
That was so well played by Bosco, and honestly, for TSM, it just seemed like they were a second behind the comms. Gio was caught. Was it Gio or was it Merc? It was Merc. Merc was caught looking into Freezer, not knowing that the Capitao had sprinted out. The Capitao plays around the Freezer door, gets the pick, and then continues on in that position. Now, conventional wisdom would suggest that you would go back into the Freezer and be wary of getting pushed from the back. You wouldn't just continue to push forward in the direction that you were heading, because there's two separate crossfire, potentially three actually, angles that you can be picked off from by that B-bomb chassis. And Bosco had to be aware of that. But the problem was that whether TSM's comms were chaotic and crowded, or whether they just simply didn't know the location of the Capitao at that particular time, Bosco was allowed to remain in that spot, and he gunned down every member of TSM that had a cross established. Large part, once again, a failure of communication from TSM, not sure. Anyway, Bosco plays that one perfectly. That was not necessarily SSG winning the round. That was Bosco winning the round. And every now and then, players will have these Herculean efforts where they will just carry the load for an entire round. It's not sustainable, and it's not something that you can account for. You don't necessarily build strategies around it, but you're very thankful of when it presents itself. And with Bosco, it tends to present itself quite often.
Certainly. Now, the clear upstairs, TSM not even on the top floor, as you can see. They are playing around the middle bottom. So more vertical roam here for TSM, trying to waste some time. Now, remember that last defense of the kitchen that we just saw? TSM didn't even bother roaming above, and because of that, they didn't waste any time. Still, though, it came to the dying seconds of the round. So TSM's thought process here is, okay, well, if it was that close with no vertical roaming, what if we delay ever so slightly? Waste 20, 30 seconds max. And if TSM can get away with this, it's probably going to pay off very well. They will already retreat Merc back into the site. And I believe the middle floor has just been cleared out. I have to get the overhead to find out in entirety. But nope, just counted them all. All 5 players from TSM have retreated downstairs. So, the box has been checked. The objective was waste 10 to 30 seconds. TSM managed it. That might make all the difference when SSG goes for the site take. Once again, Rampy starts opening up with his hammer. But this time, it's a little bit later in the round. C4 misses there. and TSM lose just a little bit of their utility.
They're continuing to watch the happen, and it ends up not netting a kill onto Geo, but Fultz, with most confidence in the world, walks through prep, picks off Geo, and then immediately gets out. This is something we saw E United attempt a couple times, where they literally just walk into prep with Alfama, get a pick, and then walk away, but unfortunately the E United of the old wasn't, well, they couldn't do it. So anyway, but clearly SSG are more than capable, and there go all of the Selmas, 1 used on the prep wall, 2 used on the main kitchen wall. This is going to force the remaining TSM members to find salvation as SSG drops into freezer. They meet their fate at the hands of Chala, who plows through both of them and has a third lined up that he'll find into Fultz. Canadian will require Bosco to cover, as Chala will need to peek out a freezer with a tiny portion of HP. Canadian gets that diffuser down, and then both Bosco and him will head for the hills. They take up the fight outside. Canadian cuts off line of sight with 1 smoke canister. There goes the other. He shrugs off a tiny portion of damage and will need to pop up. This will remove him from ADSing. He's got the smoke of Achieved watching in that position. Playing in between the ranges, Canadian will need to be as hot as the grills in front of him. Bosco outside. Canadian picks off Achieved. This is a very winnable post plant. If the Valkyrie looks the wrong way, you find your hands dying to Bosco yet again. So Chala will need to ace clutch. He's got 3 kills. Won't get a 4th. Canadian on the ground. He's watching over that diffuser like a mother hen, and Space Station takes their 2nd round in a row. And with it, the lead in the game.
Beautifully played there from SSG. They managed to get the objective down, and despite Chala's efforts getting that triple kill over by Freezer, well, TSM just weren't able to retake their own site. Curious that the information was not present there for TSM. They had both a Valkyrie and a Maestro. I would think that one of those pieces of utility would be inside of the kitchen and somehow unmolested by the attack, but not so. Well played to SSG, clearing out all the information that was present and getting the objective down. That's the key. Canadian played that post plant perfectly. Bosco did as well. He realized Bosco specifically realized that as soon as Canadian got the plant down, Canadian would hold the front, Bosco needed to hold the flank, and the best place to do that was outside of Bakery, where no one at TSM would actually check. So, 2 rounds in a row now, where TSM have come very close to victory, but SSG have managed to snatch it away at the last second. This is starting to become a trend, and that is problematic if you're TSM, because remember, everyone, Kafe is a rather defender-sided map. Not extremely so. Not quite like Oregon or Clubhouse or Theme Park. All of those sit around 64 to 68%. Kafe is at a 57% defensive win rate, now, which is very comfortable, very confident, but not overwhelming. At the same time, these are still rounds that TSM should be taking, that they are losing to SSG here. So, with those rounds in mind, TSM are going to need to effect some change here as they attempt to defend once again. I believe that's the bottom floor, but it's hard. No, it's the middle floor. Okay. We'll be defending Reading and Dining.
One thing that we can agree upon is that this has already been a much more entertaining matchup than we saw on Consulate.
Yep.
Geo gets the leadoff pick in this round. It comes quite early in the round, 40 seconds off of the clock to give TSM a slight edge. It's thinking, Nate, in the disruption that will come with those 2 logic bombs and the smokes as well. There's no follow-up smokes on SSG. They've actually used them a fair bit, as Canadian is off of the Ace, who comes equipped with those smokes, and instead is going to be playing on Maverick. This is a Reading defense. It's the same bomb site that TSM won on in the first round, and it really should have been an SSG round. In fact, this could very easily be a 3-0 right now, as we talked about the importance of round number 1.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't think either of these teams have managed to win a round that they had in their control from the get-go. Every single one of these rounds so far has been very close, and usually it's what you would expect to be the loser actually coming out victorious. That's a good utility burn there from, I believe that's Bosco on East Repel. He'll also force the roamers from Cocktail all the way down into the site.
Geo is without any of those gas canisters, so that could be a problem for the smoke in the clutch. You'll need to rely on that plant denial coming in the hands of the C4, of which, for TSM, there are 3 in play. And as long as you're not getting picked off from that reading doorway or on the upstairs floor, you've got a nitro cell that can hit that default plant. Problem for TSM is that SSG has that 3rd floor control, and they are in a good spot as ever to punish TSM should they try to swing. Canadian waiting for the call to get the diffuser down, as SSG still quite comfortable upstairs. Fultz as well as Rampy are up there, but now we're going to see Fultz drop down. He's on flank watch, watching to see if somebody will come out of mining, and, well, there's one lined up for him. Could be a relatively easy kill. Nitro Cell comes out, and it'll stop the planter from living, but not the plant itself. An almost perfect retake from TSM, as they are in a 1v5. Above, it's a flawless round, with Bolo finishing things off. Teams tied up at 2 apiece. Diffuser goes down for SSG, but not a single body from TSM goes down. Really well played on that retake, catching TSM, or catching SSG, with their pants down in the post plant.
Well, that's an awfully rare occurrence there. A post-plant round where the defense manages to win it flawlessly. Don't see those every day. Now, the execution there from SSG, you could see that they're continuing the trend of playing the objective. That's been SSG's main focus for this entire series. They're doing a great job of it. And that round, you know, I'm sure easily could have gone SSG's way based on their objective play. However, TSM were just better on the gunfights during the plant. Now, while the plant was going down, what was rushing through my head was, how is TSM allowing this? How are they not denying the plant? They have so many tools to do that with. But it ended up not mattering because of the lethality of the retake. So I guess you can't really bash it if it works for TSM. An impressive round there, to be sure. Though, again, that's one of those situations where strategically you would say, oh yeah, SSG's got this, before it all falls apart. I especially loved how quickly, or how swiftly, I guess I should say, SSG took control of the top floor. I thought that was pretty impressive. There was a decent chunk of time burnt, to be fair, by TSM's roamers upstairs, but I think it was fast enough for SSG.
It was a pretty good pace. I haven't really seen too much of a trouble on these 4 rounds of Kafe for SSG's time management. They seem to be balancing their clock quite well. Look at the triangle of the triangles, by the way. Let's go back to the Triforce.
Where is it?
Look at the Triforce. Look at it. The Triforce.
Is that where... Oh, yeah, the triangle.
Yeah,
yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Neat.
It's not exact, but it's pretty close.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Triforce is from that one video game with the guy that everyone confuses the name of, right?
Yeah, you play as Zelda to rescue the princess.
Princess Link, you mean?
Yes, Princess Link. That's correct. Yep.
TSM.
I can only imagine how angry that just made
90% of chat.
A select amount of people watching just got infuriated.
Well, I mean, the entire audience is probably gamers, so I'd say most of them, right? By the way, it's top floor. That's really rare.
Yeah, we are seeing a cocktail defense, by the way, as we can now swing back in, because it's been a minute, and I mean, it's the perfect time to engage with some banter, as very minimal action has happened. It's still discovery work from the attackers, as SSG were very quick, as you pointed out, to be able to take control of that top floor on the previous execute, which was on the reading bomb site. Things are going to slow down quite a bit because you're going to have more of a concerted hold upstairs by the defenders. They are not going to relinquish the top floor and fall back as we saw them do when there was about a minute and a half left on the previous round, because obviously they're not going to concede the entire bomb site. Unless there is a retake strategy in mind with nitro cells, which we've seen happen, the default plant spot is primed and ready right there on your screen, right next to the one Banshee or the Wub. My apologies for mislabeling it.
It's okay.
There's a nitro cell down below that can very easily stop that plant in its tracks. We've seen that tons of time, and well, would you look at that? An operator lurking down below achieved happens to be equipped with such an explosive.
Ooh, well-placed smokes there from the Capital and from Canadian. Look at that. It's going to only leave the double door open. C4 misses from below. Achieve will get one by pillars, but the plant is still going down, and SSG will put it into a post plant. With the skylight being in view of that plant, it's unlikely the defense will be able to win no matter how good the retake is. The gunfights are going the way of TSM, though, and as Bosco dies, that actually could sway the entire outcome. Merc is on the disable, and that's it. TSM answers objective play with the objective play of their own, and Merc will get it while the absolute slog of a fight is still underway.
Wow. So that was some really impressive stuff. Bosco, who was playing on the Skylight, who was punished by Geo, his attention was turned over to Cocktail. Obviously, with where the plant was going down by pillars, it was in a very open spot. Achieved down below, it looked like when he was playing on that second floor, I'm kind of surprised he couldn't see because it looked like that portion of the floor was shot out. So Canadian should have been visible playing on that opening. He wasn't, though. Whether we just, didn't see him at all or whether Achieved was looking elsewhere, most of that round looked like it was every player looking in the wrong direction. And obviously for TSM, that ended up working out because Bosco was looking in the wrong direction, which is why he doesn't spot Merc going for the disable. Bosco's attention is drawn to Geo over by Cocktail, and Geo ends up winning a shot that earns praise in the chat from Bosco because that is an incredibly hard one to make. There is a tiny bit of your head visible from the Skylight, referred to as head glitching. Spoiler alert for most people, most FPS games, you're shooting out of your forehead. So you might only be able to see a tiny bit of your opponent, but they can see all of you because of the way that perspective works.
10 seconds left before
Regardless. Geo ends up hitting that shot. Even if Bosco had won that shot, would have he had enough time to then immediately pivot to where the diffuser was being disabled by Merc? That's a question we don't have an answer to. It's very possible that that was what Bosco would have done. But if you're playing on the Skylight, you are there to cover in the post plant. Bosco lost that fight. It left nobody to cover, and Merc was able to get the disable onto the diffuser with very minimal difficulty. So we now turn, and it's going to be a kitchen defense on the very final defense for TSM. SSG bursting through the gates relatively quickly. Getting droned on in is Fultz. He's inside a reception. He was looking towards the opening that had been created by the defense in kitchen, but instead he thinks better of it. He'll go on to drone to join his teammates who had just droned out that spot. Over in VIP is none other than Achieved. He had played in this position before. He's got toxic canisters to throw the gas into freezer. Should SSG go for a freezer drop? They've gone for a freezer drop both times we've seen kitchen from TSM. This is a bomb site that the defense have not won just yet. So somebody like Achieved is going to be very smart in this spot. The opening pick goes to Space Station, though, as Merc plummets from orbit. He was playing inside of prep. That is a huge amount of influence for TSM that is now gone. What this also means is that with Canadian playing on Maverick, the same strategy that SSG had gone for before, which was to open up the prep wall and open up the front of kitchen walls with the 3 Selmas that come with Ace, is no longer available. Also absent are the smokes on attack. There are no smokes whatsoever. So you're changing that out for explosive capabilities in the hands of the Maverick.
Those nades certainly can come at the right moment, right time to get some picks. SSG's been great with their utilities so far through this map. It's been definitely one of the main takeaways. Now, this is an interesting round from SSG because it's one of the most linear in their execution. Typically, at this level, you'll see teams fully clear out the top 2 floors before executing, and generally, it's not just a bakery take, but you're seeing that here now. SSG trying to make this kind of a one-directional attack, and we'll see if that works out for them. The cover from above for Rampy, not netting any kills just yet. Canadian going to start droning as the wall has been Maverick tricked, and the sledge will open it up. SSG has the necessary tools. Bolo is above, though, so he can definitely stop this push. And despite the man advantage that SSG holds, this is still looking like a pretty solid defense here for TSM. Bolo's going to try and hold on to prep through these holes while the rest of his team denies the push into the site. The smokes are going to come in just a second, as will the nades and the rest of the utility. Chala gets one on the ingress, though. Rampy goes down. Canadian planting in the smoke up close with the enemy, and it might work for him as the bandit's looking the wrong way. That's a big plant there for Canadian. TSM at least is slugging back, but in the end, SSG gets the plant and maintain the man advantage. Achieved in Bolo looking to retake both by the red hallway. They don't know where the last attackers are. One spotted in Bakery. Shots rattle off, but it's hard to land a shot with that SMG-11 at a range like that. The other attacker spotted inside a freezer. Gas canister's well placed, but it doesn't matter. SSG will take the round off of excellent objective play.
Mass confusion by TSM as they didn't seem to be prepared with it, and those grenades holding them in place. The flashes burning out the utility, the only smokes available coming from the Capitao, and perfectly stopped any of the defenders from seeing where the plant was going off. Canadian likes planting by that gas range in the middle of the bomb site. You have a lot of protection. You're not playing too close to the bomb chassis. Most C4s are not going to touch you at that spot, or if they are, they're going to do so minimal damage that you'll be able to continue through the defuse going down, and then you can pop right up, and you've still got the security of those gas ranges near you, and the counters as well. You can't shoot through them. You are totally invincible in that spot as long as you play it appropriately. So the first half is done, and we are no closer to crowning a victor in this matchup, nor in this map, as SSG will go on to defense. They are going to bring a clash as Canadian favors this operator and has used her on a number of different maps. She's very good for holding out in terms of positioning with somebody playing behind you. You can eat up a lot of utility as people will try to flash you. You might get naded. They might use Zofia stuns on you to try and move the shield away. We'll see exactly how TSM is capable of wrestling with this. For TSM's first lineup, they're going to debut 2 sets of grenades as they like the Yana very much. She is an operator that doesn't see a high pick rate, but with the way that we see SSG like to run denial ops, whether it be Mozzie, whether it be Vigil, whether it be Mute, Yana is a way that you can kind of cut through those. Now, obviously, she is countered by some of those operators. She's not countered by Mozzie. She's countered by Mute, and that becomes a bit of a challenge given that there will be a Mute on the board. But ultimately, TSM bringing tons of tools to stop any utility soak and to be able to claw back some of the intel that's going to be taken away from you by what SSG likes to run.
Rome set up upstairs here for SSG. The half wasn't bad for TSM, but it wasn't good either. I think SSG's got to be really happy with the result. The clash is going to be a new face shown here by SSG, and I'm sure this will delay the clear of the top floor quite a little bit more than you might expect. Now, typically the roamers upstairs on this site are going to try and at least burn half of the round, 90 seconds. But I expect SSG is going to be bargaining for more like, well, probably 120 seconds with the clash in play.
Upstairs and being supported by Rampy, Mute Jammers, 2 Mute Jammers actually there to stall for information. And the hope is that you don't detect Rampy playing off of this spot. Bosco nearby as well, playing on pallets or lumber or wood or whatever region you play in and whatever you call it. What do you refer to it as, by the way?
Any of those work, to be honest. And yeah, no, I'll take any of them. And I'm working on it, Parker.
Yeah. Anyway. So Merc has information, and he sees right through the play and sees right through the cabinet, in fact, is able to take down Rampy, but doesn't see Fultz down below. So you at least take one, but then it's traded off quite swiftly. It's also wasted a lot of time, so the winner in that altercation is going to be SSG. Bosco has pivoted, and he will now support the clash, playing over by Cocktail. All the while, we had seen that T5 in the hands of Fultz retreat back downstairs to join Thinking Nade. There goes a clone that's driven over towards the top of White Stairs. Bosco was playing with the double reinforcement into Freezer, so he really only needs to be worried about White Hallway and assisting Canadian as a grenade gets caught by the ADS, and Achieved will be flummoxed for now. Bolo will head on over towards Reading. Maybe he'll just provoke an engagement inside of the bomb site as Achieved misses an opportunity to narrow the numbers for SSG. Selma gets tossed out. I'm not sure exactly what the intended target for that was, as Geo now looks to confront the clash. But there's nothing that they can do to stop him. Canadian is going to continue to waste lots of time. Down goes Thinking Nade as it appears that the call has been made from TSM to pivot towards the bomb site. But Bosco, right now with a shotgun out, only takes one, loses the fight to Geo. Out goes Fultz, and Canadian with shield on his back will need to go into the 1v3. Diffuser going down, he won't be able to retake the lead as TSM's as they take the very first attack.
Beautiful round there for TSM. It looked pretty desperate for the majority of the round, thanks to the clash doing its job on the top floor. A great delay there from Canadian upstairs and Bosco as well. But you can see here, Bosco's trying to retake his own bomb site as one of those top floor roamers, and all the anchors are dead. There's nothing that can be done to deny the push in through reading. This is thanks to Bolo's entry from the reading door, and thanks to the fact that TSM managed to get that early pick onto, I believe it was Merc, or wait, sorry. It was Merc getting the pick, but I believe it was Rampy prone at C1, or that's usually what we call it. I don't really know what else to call that. So with that pick early, the roamer presence is lightened. Because of that, Bosco and Canadian both have to stay upstairs, and that leaves the anchors by themselves. So the forced roam, not able to rotate manpower until very late in the round, and the anchors losing their fights downstairs. Bad formula there, especially when you detract one gun from the equation, because keep in mind, Clash is great at delaying, but she is ultimately one less lethal operator in play for the defense, which puts more pressure on all of your other players. So it's a bad formula there, a bad equation, I guess, for SSG, and TSM, thanks to that early pick, able to turn it into a much more one-sided round than it might have been without the clash.
That is an experiment that SSG has tried on a couple maps, as we talked about. It is often very successful for SSG, but it doesn't stick as Canadian swaps off. And we see more traditional roles for SSG coming out now. Rampy on your roaming fragger in Jaeger. Fultz playing on the Maestro. Bosco on Smoke. Canadian Thinking Nate, as always, on that flex support style, sixth pick style of play. Nice to see SSG go to what's comfortable. Is it going to work? We'll find out, as TSM are assembling on top of the red hatch. And like most teams, they're going to start by taking the western portion of this third floor. We are again mysteriously seeing a cocktail defense. It was TSM to defend it on round number 5. Now it's SSG to do so on round number 8. It is not a bomb site that is favored by a lot of teams, but if you play smartly, you play from below, there is a possibility that you can hang on to it. Very similarly to when we were watching Consulate, Archives Tellers is a bomb site that I said when you lose it, you can lose it in a hurry. Same thing here. There are limited retake potentials for this bomb site. You end up getting found out and you get suffocated. And that's the problem. So if SSG can land a punch or two, narrow the numbers and winnow down TSM's advantage, that's going to come in terms of utility and where they're going to push from, then this stands obviously a great chance for SSG.
ADS clear going on over here. That's the burn. Ash charge also being used to burn, and another stun. More stun. C4 detonated below, trying to net a kill, and there's the kill. Merc gets eliminated. And I believe that was by the Goyo shield. That's my guess.
It was, yes.
It must have been by the Goyo shield.
Yeah, Merc credited with, another on the Bosco from the Humidor. That is a great shot. They're going to have to contend with Fultz long away. Canadian engaging, and he's bartering his life with Bolo, and he loses that one. TSM find themselves with 3 kills, and Rampy is up next. Is he going to engage over on the balcony? Fultz will hold down the bomb site as Rampy comes on back. He's going to be over by White Stairs looking for a pop-out, but he might have missed his golden opportunity. This is the location of Canadian's burial. Rampy might retake over on Piano, and if TSM aren't predicting this, it could catch them by surprise. There might be no dedicated flank watch. There is actually, it's Chala. Fultz will now need to engage in a 1v5, stops the diffuser being planted, but a 3k from Merc will give TSM the round. They'll stretch their lead. They pick up their second in a row, and SSG still looking for their first win on defense.
Well, TSM getting very close to locking this map and series out. SSG have had moments of brilliance. In fact, I would say SSG's executions were really something special. The way that they were playing around the objective and planting in the midst of the enemy was beautiful stuff. SSG really should be proud of that. On the defense, they haven't shown much to be proud of so far. I really liked the idea behind the clash play on the first defensive round. I thought that was fantastic. It didn't work out. So SSG adjusts. They start playing a little bit differently, a little bit more what I would call standard on that last round we just saw on the top floor defense. Very standard. However, all of that standard play is swiftly countered by TSM. The early pick on the SSG roamer, I guess you could call him, by Pixel. Typically, that takes a little bit more time for the attack to burn out the position, but TSM got it done quick. And then following that, it was just one after another picks for TSM as they attempted to entry into the site. Merc managed to get another one through the humidor angle, one that he probably should not have been able to get. SSG's giving a lot of those free picks away at the beginning of these rounds, and that round looked completely one-sided. Nothing like the first defense from SSG. There was no bite back.
So, a top floor goes. It goes quickly. SSG are focused on fights that they're not capable of winning, and I mean, Veli hyped up Merc before this match started. Despite that outlandish performance with the 3K, Merc only had 1 kill prior to that. And TSM is a bit of an odd beast, where every single player is capable of top fragging. You look at the scoreboard right now, Chala and Geo are both on roles that don't typically net themselves the most amount of kills. And yet they are right now, and Bosco is next in line to Bolo. Down he goes, B bomb site being held, Geo going for the plant. TSM at the moment have their foot very firmly on the gas. Nitro Cell goes out, it connects, Chala with a kill, but the diffuser goes down. So the clock will start to tick against SSG. This will be match point for TSM if they prevail here. Rampy prone with Canadian nearby. They're trying to go for shots through the drone holes, all aiming at the ankles of the various TSM members. SSG will need to retake against the advantage that TSM has, not just in terms of time, but also in terms of numbers. Canadian will creep on up, and he's last left alive. He's got some spam marks, but he's going to have to net 3 impressive kills. Won't even get 1. Former teammates on Evil Geniuses. Geo will be the better hand in that duel. TSM match point, series point, and they are 1 round away from being able to go to the NA Major.
It's looking pretty definitive at this point, Parker, the way that this has been playing out. What did TSM even do in that round? Well, I'll tell you. They walked into the site. Now, they weren't stupid about it. Let's not, TSM didn't do a brazen play that had no thought put into it. No, actually, quite the opposite. Merc inserted himself over in Dining, and because he was in Dining, he cut off the rotation of the roamers who would attempt to retake into Engine. That's why you saw the plant, when it was going down from TSM, being placed at the very front of the Engine block. Because it was in the front of the Engine block, it was exposed to train. But because Merc was distracting by Dining, SSG was unable to get the line of sight onto the planter and deny the plant. Meanwhile, the rest of TSM was still covering the push from the hallway and from Red Hall as well. So there was no opportunity for SSG to deny that plant without indirect utility, such as a C4 from below, a C4 from the side, or Evil Eyes, what have you, whatever piece of utility. That was the only way SSG was able to, would have been able to stop that plant, and none of that happened. None of it was in position to happen because of how swiftly TSM executed that round. So, yes, it was what you could call a rush there from TSM, but it was a surgically executed and very well thought out rush. At the same time, SSG way too lax on their bomb site. Allowing that to happen is really unfortunate.
So SSG are just throwing things at the wall to see what's going to stick here, as now through 4 rounds, they have defended all 4 bomb sites and come up empty-handed every single time. They're going to now hinge their hopes on a kitchen defense down below. SSG usually uses Echo here, and we need to remind you, Echo is not in play, so it's going to change up the way that SSG uses this. They're back on these familiar roles. The Canadian has taken the Jaeger and traded it to Rampy for a stick of gum and also Malusi. So now they are going to be rocking on, well, it was because Malusi was Canadians and Jaeger was Rampy's, and now they literally swapped. So
can I have a stick of gum, Parker?
Yeah, and I mean, most people fight to be Jaeger and Ash, right? So I mean, you need to.
Oh, no pros, though. Playing Jaeger is a chore. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Ash is a utility op now, too. We're in Bizarro world, Michael.
Yeah, we are, but
if you're playing ranked, everybody fights over Jaeger always.
Yeah,
everybody fights over Ash always.
Plat 3 and below, maybe.
Okay. You don't have to come at me like that.
It wasn't targeted at you. I mean...
You don't. Unbelievable.
Even
as if Twitter hasn't been bad enough.
No, but even my rank stack doesn't want to play Jaeger. It really is a chore. You have to place all the ADSs and the barbed wire. And
Michael, something very important just happened. SSG read into the entire execute from TSM and have completely changed up how they are defending this bomb site.
Yep.
They are now assembling over on A bomb site. They were originally stacked up on B. They were expecting a bakery take. Not the case. It's going to be a freezer take. There goes the hatch. It could be a drop. You see TSM ripping up the floorboards. This is Extreme Home Makeover Edition. Extreme Home Makeover Cafe Edition. My apologies.
I believe there was a meme about that once upon a time for Siege.
At some point, Merc engaging with a fight into Rampy. He wins this one. 4 kills remaining for TSM to capitalize off of SSG's discomfort. Make that 3 as Geo finds one for himself, AK in hand. Canadian retreating, but there was an opening at the bottom of red stairs where he would have been spotted. Achieved wins his fight against Fultz. And this is over. At this point, barring a miracle for Space Station, Canadian narrowly missing out on a single member of TSM, evading his gaze. Down goes the Goyo. They trade, technically. Merc at a tiny bit of HP, but it's Canadian in a 1v4. Takes out Geo. He saw him and was waiting ever so patiently, but he's not going to make it through Fireplace. Just smoldering embers for SSG. And the fire rises for TSM. We'll see you at the major. Congratulations. It's a quick 2-0. The exact same score line. The exact same score line. I wonder where the score line is on your body, because I don't think SSG comes equipped with that one. By the way,
man.
They had the score line surgically removed. I don't know what it is with this team, because remember when we cast them, instead of calling them Most Wanted, I called them Modern Warfare. Very first cast.
I remember that.
Called them Modern Warfare. Never lived that one down. Great way to break myself in. 3 people in the lobby break double digits, by the way. Geo and Chala leading the way for TSM en route to a 2-0 victory. SSG now in the, well, they're going to have to fight in the qualifiers against the teams that are in 5th and 6th in the US division, and the team that finishes 1st Canada division, Michael.
Yes, indeed, Parker. Well done to TSM, clinching that final direct spot at the major. And I'm sure it'll be an interesting path moving forward. But we've got some maps to talk about, and it's the analysts' turn to talk about them. So we'll hand it over.
All right, thank you so much, Kix and Taro and Mel. Great casting. Have a wonderful evening. Mel is my favorite of the 3 there. But anyways, map 2 Cafe going to TSM 7-3. TSM winning in 2. We are rolling the highlights right now. Wow. Veli and Jesse, TSM getting the job done, right?
Wait, the game is over already, Jackie?
I know. It is.
I thought this was going down the wire. I thought it was going to a 3rd map at least. But man, TSM, they came out hungry. But all thanks to Geo and Chala, they had such an amazing day. Yeah, we talk about Chala. I called him the clutch god last time we had a broadcast, right? But he was exactly that again. But Geo stepped up big as well. And Jesse, is sometimes good to remember how damn good Geo was before he started playing that hard breach role, right?
Yeah, I mean, even after, I think the people often discredit Geo a little bit more than they should. Geo's been one of the best players in the NAL for a long time. Really impressed with the performance today, and I'm sure they're going to keep that one up. Of course, TSM qualifying to the major. I'm pretty sure they also will now have enough points locked in to qualify for the Invitational as well. They should not be able to get lower than 16th on the global standing, so they should be in for that tournament. So a lot of celebrations, I'm sure, on the TSM side tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure they're absolutely thrilled. And, you know, both of you were talking about Geo. TSM just looking in sync. Chala performed very well. All of them performed very well, Veli. Just across the board. TSM killing it.
And you know what? It's been a while since... we've seen Space Station struggle with counters, because everyone on TSM just threw it at them, and everyone took advantage of opportunity. They were opportunistic since map 1. I mean, let's go back in time. Just the counter strats of Merc running out of front door, getting a kill with Maestro when someone was repelled on balcony. That shouldn't happen. Plays like that. We saw Canadian with Clash. That play didn't end up well, but also Thinkinate struggling once again. Thinkinate is such an important aspect of this team, to where when he starts going 1-7, 1-8, and have a stat line like that, there's really not a lot Space Station Gaming could do. And also, when TSM is just sprinting into mining to get the plant down to get a win in about 30 seconds, that's something I don't see all the time within the top 4 teams, but they made it look easy this time around. Shout out to TSM. They came to play.
Yeah, certainly TSM made that look easy. It seems so
and my
fast.
curse is gone, by the way, so...
Hey! Yay!
Yes.
Yay! No curse. If
No
Ellie
curse.
picks you, then you win, I guess. Well, we'll see if that holds up too. But yeah, TSM's ability to adjust really impressed you, Jesse. We were talking about that earlier. You thought that they identified SSG setup and strats really well, and we just threw up our stats here as well. But yeah, you were impressed with them, Jesse.
Yeah, no, I really did think that they did a great job identifying what Space Station were doing and then executing on their takes really smartly. Obviously, the mining attack was sort of the most obvious example of that, where they just jumped on into the window. They said, all right, they've got like 3 players on the top floor. They're not around piano, so they're not even going to stop us from above because they're more so roaming on the other side of the map up above. So let's just get this plant down, let's hold our angles, and we can win this. And that's exactly what they did. There were other examples of that, I think. The very first reading room attack, when they saw that clash up above, they realized that they couldn't really deal with it all too effectively. Kind of talked about that at the beginning of the show. They made the call just to push downstairs. They got rid of those anchors, and they said, well, the clash is not going to shoot down at us, right? The electricity on the shield is not going to prevent us from planting all the way up there. So let's just take control of site, get this plant down. Now the clash is in like a 1-on-3, 1-on-4, whatever it was. There's no way they're going to win that. So I thought that TSM were really, really smart about their pushes today, and I like that.
You know what it was, Jackie and Jesse? I feel like the Space Station just didn't apply as much pressure when it came to map control. I mean, especially that last round. You saw them transition over. They set up their defense. They knew the freezer take was coming. But still, they didn't account for everybody up top that was just going to shoot down below and pick up frags. The next thing you know, it's a 1v4. That's adaptation is something of Space Station Gaming's strong point. We haven't seen that today at all. It's pretty rough. Hopefully they bounce back strong for the major. The qualifiers will go to the major.
Yeah, definitely. They have eyes on that. And I wanted to ask both of you, what do you think SSG is going to be really focusing on after this matchup? What do you think were the big lessons learned, Jesse?
I mean, I think making sure that things don't slip away from them on attack, right? We talked about that Intel game, really trying to deal with the current meta we're in and deal with the roam game that I think TSM was really abusing. More on Kafe. I agree with what Veli was saying, just trying to adapt a little bit better. You know, going forward, there's still a path for them. They're obviously in the same situation that Dark Zero were in Stage 1, and that turned out really well for Dark Zero. So they have some time to work on things, and certainly the improvement will come. I believe in this team and the coaches that are on it. They will, you know, address the team's faults, but there's stuff to work on for sure, and I certainly hope that they can get those things ironed out before the qualifier.
Yeah, back to the drawing board, but you know, the qualifiers head, all hope is not lost quite yet for them. But gentlemen, we do have achieved on deck here.
Let's go.
Congrats on the W achieved. Y'all are going to the major, locked in for Invitational. I'm sure you're feeling ecstatic, right? Aw, you're smiling.
Yeah, no, it feels good. Just glad we were able to turn back because we lost to DZ on Monday and we only had like a day of practice, but glad we were able to just focus up yesterday on practice and get the win today.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about the matchup with Dark Zero. What were the major corrections that y'all made from that matchup? What did you really want to do today when you were playing SSG? What did you learn from that DZ loss?
So all of the rounds against DZ, which is like our late round like executes or just on defenses, our holds, especially on like Clubhouse, there's quite a few rounds that like I believe that we should have won if we just tightened up towards the end. Even 2 rounds today on Kafe, when we were defending Bakery, SSG beat us, and I would say we had the upper hand. We just kind of played the late rounds a little bad, so we tightened up on a lot of them there today. So really proud of that, and yeah.
Aw, you guys look like a well-tuned machine, definitely in sync. I want to talk to you about round 9, the mining dining attack. How did you all know you could push through that? It looked easy for y'all.
Yeah, so it was kind of just like a strat that like I came up with one day. It was just like a little rush strat. We actually used it against SSG one time before, and DZ I think. So kind of surprised it like worked that well. But it's just we just try to throw them off guard because they were being really aggressive on their defenses and they were committing to like a roam. They were defending upstairs and stuff. So it's just something that we saw an opportunity and were able to take it.
Well, that rough strat definitely worked. So what are y'all going to be focusing on now? What do you really want to refine before the major?
Just our late rounds. you know, that's been our downfall, or our weakness as of lately. So we just want to focus on our late rounds and be able to close out the rounds that we think we definitely should be able to win. So that's going to be our main focus going forward. And yeah, we're going to work on it.
Well, definitely a huge victory. Is there anything you want to say to your fans really quickly? I'm sure they're psyched.
Just thank you to all the fans. Glad we were able to win today and make it to the mini major. So yeah, we got second in the last mini major. Hopefully we can one up that.
Ooh, I like to hear that. Achieve, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring it back to our analysts. I like that.
That beard is getting serious.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on the beard, but you know, it's like, okay, he probably doesn't want to like hear about his like beard flow right now. But I liked how he wrapped things up there. He's like, okay, we're taking the next major. I was like, ooh, okay, fine words from Achieve. Yes, and you know what? He deserves to have that confidence. They looked absolutely stellar in that last matchup there. But we're gonna get things moving because we have another matchup, and oh my gosh. A lot on the line for that first matchup, but someone's getting relegated, y'all. I know, Veli, I think you might be more excited about this one. United versus Tempo. I really have no idea how this is going to go down, but we definitely want to get that match rolling, so we'll be back in a flash. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.